open. I just got
Do
to
we do
close
cold opens?
Twitter.
Is that how we do it?
Yeah, we call it a cold open, but it's basically just that we're terrible at preparing for things.
I will have to
Like in a
say
bad way.
I'm amazingly good at terribly preparing for things. I don't understand your accusations here. Like you're
I am
starting
really
off the show
good
with an
at
accusation that we're terrible.
terribly preparing for things. I'm kind of the
Absolutely.
best
I'm
of the
I'm super
worst.
prepared for being procrastinating on no sort of review, but I'm not even putting sentences together. No, I mean seriously. What is
That's
today?
how good
Today's
we
like
are.
Thursday-ish. No, I'm just kidding.
Ish. It's Thursday adjacent. We both woke up today and
Yes.
somehow, without talking to each other, both thought it was Friday. I
Uh-huh.
was terrified that I missed our show.
I
I was like, "Oh my god, it's the end of the week. It's
all
Friday. What?
dude,
What?"
all day long, I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta talk to Juan. I gotta talk to Juan. We gotta put this thing together. We're trying to do something unique and special, first of its kind. First of its name. The Narius I'm sorry, award winner
I
smartphone
love it.
camera. I was like, it's just
Well,
a thing.
everybody, welcome to a tech podcast for two people who claim to know what they're talking about when it
Uh,
comes to technology, but can't figure out days of the week.
as the year goes by and we get closer to the end of 2023, days are starting to just basically be blah blah blah. Whatever.
I,
Just cross to
yeah,
the next one. We're done. Yeah, I just want to button it up. I think we should just give out the awards now and just end the show in five
well,
minutes and do a record.
that's what we're going to lead into. That was the perfect segue. So, of course, the best segues, you also need to point out how good the segue was, in which point you stop the momentum of the good segue.
And go and
We have a
explain the
very
segue.
special episode of the show for you this week, where TK and I have been writing out. We've been kind of working back and forth.
Hmm.
We wanted to do a smartphone camera award for 2023. And the more we kept talking about it, the more we found categories that we really wanted to specify. So neither of us, we both have very different sort of usages for our phone cameras, but
Hmm.
we both have kind of come to the same place where it's a conversation about the specificity of someone's workflow. So
Yeah.
we're trying to divide up our camera awards into smaller categories to highlight some of the pros and cons
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
best camera performers of the year. And we're going to kind of duke it out live. We're going to kind of chat out what my pick and my runner-ups are, and TK's going to kind of try and throw me with what some of his favorite picks
I'm
are.
gonna try you
But
off, throw you off, man. I'm gonna prove to you
you're going to
why
pummel
that.
me.
Yeah, exactly. The whole show is gonna be me pointing things out. But
And Ghost
yes.
Starscream is correct, is completely correct. Hot take: best of awards of the year are rigged. So what we have to point out is we have not completely absorbed the full photography workflow of every phone that was released in 2023. So this is
No.
from an incomplete sampling of our ability to
Well, I
use
mean,
phones.
yeah.
And this is also, we're going to be talking this out. I come from a very specific kind of set of preferences and bias. TK comes from a slightly different set of preferences and bias. We
Come
agree
with a
on a
very
lot of
unique set
things,
of skills that I've acquired over the years and
but
over
we don't
5 years.
agree on everything. But
No.
this is also, again, we want to highlight really what the incredible work was done this year. Because I
Hmm.
think a lot of us have heard this kind of common patter in tech land and tech reviews. Oh, everything's been good enough. Smartphones do what they've always done.
Oh, I
It's
felt like,
sort of
or
tech is
there's
boring.
there's also the default. But iPhone does it the best. So why the best? Like if you
And
want to
we're
go
gonna be
get
a
an iPhone
little
or a Samsung,
we're gonna
done.
be a little snarky about that too. But
We'll talk.
genuinely,
Yeah, yeah.
if I think if more people who were enthusiasts, not this idea of an average consumer, but if enthusiasts kind of appreciated some of these finer differences, I think they would actually find more fun, and that's what we hope to bring, is
I
at
hope
least a
so.
little bit more conversation on what we found fun. But before we dig directly into the award show, we still wanted to chat out some of the things that we've been working on
Yeah.
this week. This week that both kicked both of our butts. And I kind of feel like we just want to preface, like, TK, I feel you have something in front of you right now that was the best of your week. And I'm super jealous because mine hasn't shown up yet.
I will say, my friend, yeah, this year started. What did I say? This month started with the. I think this is going to be a chill month. Not much going on. To the
Yeah, it's December.
we got two 8 Gen 3s in the office. We got this amazing little phone. Come on, Sony, don't
Oh,
do
come
this
on,
to me,
focus.
Sony. Do Oh, come on. Okay. I gotta make
Sony
this
is
thing.
jealous every single time you try and hold up
Every
another good
another
camera.
another brand that could potentially make a point. Sony will be the conversation. So here we are. Let's do this. Sony will do it now. Okay,
There you go.
let's take the case because that is just not the
That's
way.
pretty.
There, and
Oh,
we are
there,
talking
there, there it goes.
right there. The Vivo
Woo!
X100.
I'm so stinking jealous. I love Vivo so
Pro,
much. I got a really lovely email from the PR company about some logistics and batch issues, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they say one will eventually show up on my doorstep, but I want that after we got to play with it at the
Well,
MediaTek
yeah, but that
Summit.
was the thing. Yeah, we got such a quick. It was such a quick. Like the day we find out about the 9300, and then they had like literally 2 units, and
Yeah.
apparently it's like, and it was done, like it was like, and will we ever see it, whatever. And then
Yeah.
for
And we
me,
couldn't show anything from it.
no, that was the weird thing. You
Yeah,
could show the back,
the
and I think
back
that's
we
what
could
we
show the
chose.
camera module, but we couldn't show the front of the phone. So
Yeah, and I think that
not
was the
great.
biggest limitation. Well, one thing for it to say at the time, the device had barely launched in China, I think,
Yeah.
and I think the software that they had was not the retail unit software, so they didn't want us to show any kind of concerns. And then
Yeah.
now it's finally available internationally or globally. Obviously, check your area, check your regions for availability. The
Exactly.
one the one I have, I think, is a European model because it shows the two-prong connector. So I'm thinking it's like either a German or one of the units for the
Hmm.
European market. But I'll say that yeah, mine showed up last night. I barely had 24 hours with it.
Yeah.
And I was like seriously scrambling because I also was mixing up the time zones. I honestly thought I had till tomorrow at 11:30, and it was like, no, it's the opposite. Your bro is so messed up.
So
I couldn't tell the negative from positive.
yeah,
Anyways.
go
Yeah.
get that work done, son.
So yes, I have been scrambling all the way up till like right now.
I'm also very appreciative because
Mhm.
in the interim, because I think you had a phone there that you were also going to be working on, that you were kind enough to share the iQOO 12
I'm glad.
so that
Yes.
I
No,
could
no, no. Yeah,
play.
yeah, yeah.
And this has definitely been the best tech of my week as I've just finished writing up the article. It's going to go live on Patreon tomorrow,
Nice.
breaking down all of my performance, my benchmark tests, where it's really surprisingly good, and areas where
Eh,
it's maybe falling behind
mm,
Snapdragon 8 Gen 2s,
okay.
where just because it is a generational new chip, it doesn't mean that it is across the board better than some of the best phones that we got to play with last year. I mean, I'm looking at some of those numbers from the iQOO 11
Oh,
going,
okay.
okay, there's a pro and a con here with this new chipset. It's going to be a really interesting year in Android land
Hmm.
2024. We've got ridiculously powerful devices, but it's like getting all that power to the wheels. You know, you can
Hmm.
dump a huge engine in a tiny car. Doesn't mean you're going to go faster in
Oh
all
no.
situations.
No, no, no. And one thing to mention though is we're still at the beginning of this conversation. So obviously, what we're
Yeah.
looking at is both IQ and Vivo are technically same company, just parent and child type of a relationship,
Yeah.
and both utilize co-processors. Both of them are utilizing the latest SoCs, but it still begs to be said. Obviously, we need to see some of those devices from different companies. I'll say that
Yeah.
specifically with the Realme, I'm noticing a little bit different approach to the Gen 3 than I saw with the iQOO
Hmm.
12, which is surprising to me. But again, that's how it's going to be. Each
I'm
company.
really confident that
Mhm.
Xiaomi is going to have a very different flavor of this for the
Yes,
international launches
I
on
haven't. Yeah,
not
we
just
haven't.
Redmi but also the Xiaomi 14s are going to be very interesting phones to play with.
The 14 Pro for sure. I cannot wait for that device to come out internationally. I mean, I know it's
So
available, and I almost picked it up, but
I'm
yeah.
anxious. There have
Hmm.
been rumors, and again, I put very little stock in rumors, but now I've seen it posted up on two sites from people that say they're confirming each other that Xiaomi 14 Pro
Hmm.
also might not get an international release, or if it does, the other rumor is if it does get an international release, it's going to be significantly delayed. So we'll
The
have to keep
Pro.
an eye on what the Pro, not the Ultra, the 14 Pro. It's out in China. You can
Yeah,
import
yeah.
one now if you want.
Hmm.
The rumors are it's either not coming internationally, they're just going to put out a 14, or it's going to be released, but it's going to be significantly delayed for the rest of the world. So we'll have to really
Oh,
watch.
wow.
I'm very anxious because the
Yeah.
14 Ultra is an insta buy for me.
Oh, no, no,
The
absolutely,
the
absolutely.
13
I
Ultra has
think
been
no, no,
so
no.
good.
We've there. Okay, generally in a specific year, I'll probably say that the not necessarily Pro, like the whatever Vivo's Pro version or Pro Plus are typically are
Yeah,
going to be good, very good device, easy
very good.
recommendation. It seems like Oppo as well on their Find X series. They've also done on the Pro side. They've been doing great for the last few generation. But like seriously, this year still like this knocked everything
Mm-hmm.
out of the water. And Ultra, absolutely. Xiaomi has been kicking it since the 11 Ultra,
Yeah.
not even just the 12. Like the 11 Ultra, the 12S Ultra, the 13 Ultra, they're all powerhouses in their own rightful release year. So, no, no, absolutely. But these are the companies that are truly doing their homework. They're giving you a device worthy of the Ultra. It's not
Yeah.
just saying Pro for the sake of Pro. You know what I mean? Like the Pro Plus,
Mm-hmm.
Pro Plus Ultra
I,
5G, blah
I
blah 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 blah
I
blah.
wish we could maybe simplify some of these lines a little bit more. Like I always find like Vivo's naming convention is a little clumsy. Like I think we should have an X100 Ultra,
Mhm.
not an X100 Pro Plus Element OP edition. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I,
The Pro Plus, I feel like is more.
it's tricky.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, for sure.
okay, so it's Pro, but it's Plus, and
Is
then
it
it's
Pro? Is it
5G. But
Pro?
is it plus 5G or minus
Is it Plus
5G?
Pro or is it good? I don't know.
I
So
and we'll see. Yeah, and it'll be China only more
this
than
to me
likely.
is like is kind of blowing my mind
Okay.
that so many brands now have released in the year before is
Mm.
the December 2023. I felt
Well,
like last year we
it's the
got
Qualcomm
a
of
couple
yeah,
phones just dipping their toes in the water at the end of the year, and
yeah.
this year they were like, "Hey, that kind of worked. Let's really undercut Samsung.
Well, but no, but
Let's
like
really
okay,
launch early."
so it's like okay, Qualcomm must have known what they were doing realistically. Okay, they shortened the year. This is obviously the impact of that.
Right.
We knew Xiaomi was
I
going
don't
to
know if you
launch in
noticed,
China.
but 2023 only had 11 months.
On a good year, we had 11 months. No, I know. It's a
Man,
tough
inflation is
choice.
getting us all.
Like, but nobody, I mean, think about it. In less than 12 months, we've had two IQs, we've
Yeah.
had two N3s,
Yep.
N3, like not the L3, the N3 Flip came out, N2 and the
Hmm.
N3 Flip both came out roughly within 9 months of each other. Um, the 14 technically came out, or 14 Pro came out technically in less than a year from the 13 Pro.
I
So
mean,
yeah,
right on the edge, but it was
exactly.
under a year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
If you consider the China launch, obviously we don't have a launch for global. So
Sure.
the reality is it's the effect. It's Qualcomm's decision of launching the SoC or announcing their SoC in October or late October, and then MediaTek obviously still doing their event the week before Thanksgiving. I think roughly just keeping things on track. But yeah, it pulled the rug. I mean, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised if 2024 launches are all shifted, like
Oh yeah.
everything. Like
I think they're gonna start moving up the timeline, and
no, no,
this
absolutely.
this actually posed one of the logistical challenges of us trying to do a best camera of the year
Yeah,
awards
yeah. How
show.
where do you draw that line exactly?
So we tried to keep a certain window of chip generations together,
It's a short 8 months
acknowledging
window.
that a lot of our focus was we're starting from somewhere, right?
Hmm.
We,
Yeah,
we 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 can't really make an award show in the past for years that we haven't covered. So this is where we're going to start at the end of the year, looking at all of the phones that kind of came out within the calendar year. But we sort of agreed like starting from this point, we should probably include iPhone 15 and Pixel 8. So it doesn't make sense to heavily compete Pixel 7 and iPhone 14, even though they did half the year or more than half the year competing against 8 Gen 2s and Dimensity 9200s. So this was actually kind of a challenge. We had to sort of set a window of like December to November is really our smartphone calendar year. So phones that were released in 2023 with 8 Gen 3s and Dimensity 9300s, we're going to say missed the award show deadline, and they will be considered for 2024's best smartphone cameras of 2024. It's just
yeah.
like the Academy Awards. At some point, there's a date that cuts off
If you
then those
if you
those
miss it
movies
by
have to be
you miss it
considered in
by
the
a day,
future.
you are in next year's awards. Thank you very much for playing the game. No, I know,
Thank you
and
for
it
playing.
isn't because they just missed it, because they still are going to be running in the running for it.
Yeah.
Because obviously, we're talking
No,
about
I mean they just missed for this
yeah,
year. We're expecting them to be the competitors for next year.
exactly. They haven't
Yeah.
spent enough time in people. There isn't enough of a sample of people using the devices. It hasn't been around long enough for people to say that it's
Yeah.
retail. The where we're talking about right now are purely they're available globally, but they may not be in people's hands yet.
Hmm.
Reviewers are one thing, but yeah, no, I'm with you.
And to assuage any concerns that people might have about the bias or the objectivity of our award show for next year, I'm pretty confident Vivo X100 is going to be well represented next
I
year's awards. So don't
seriously,
feel like we're
the
sliding it
X90
by
Pro
not
is
including it.
going. Well, no, but I'll say this though. I mean, I think the X90 Pro is definitely going to do a good enough job to actually represent Vivo in this category. I don't think
Yeah.
the X90 Pro is out. So
No.
100 may not be in the 9200 Dimensity, and of course the X90 Pro is going to be there. And the
Yeah.
same thing for iQOO. We had the iQOO. I think was it the iQOO 11 last year. And
Hmm.
yeah, so those are going to be the. I mean, so that was the weird thing. I never got a chance to play too much with the iQOO 11. I think that was
I
more
mean,
Juan's side.
spoiler with an X90 in the mix, I didn't have anything for the iQOO where I felt like the
It's a
iQOO was doing something better. You're going to notice in this list, because we are premium phone camera snobs, not many of these phones are cheap.
no, and I think this is what we're trying to focus on is the quality and the tech that comes with the cameras.
And
It's
what
it's
we
about
felt that
reaching that. Yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry. I cut you off while I was going to say exactly what I think you were just about to say, and
it's
that's
okay.
on me for stepping on your toes.
It's okay, man. What the goal obviously is we want to make sure to reach the explain, I guess, is based on the experiences that we've had and the devices that we've
Hmm.
used, where we feel the best feature lies in which device. Because
Hmm.
surprisingly, not I mean there isn't a unicorn device that does everything correctly. It's
No.
always going to be again based on taste. Where Juan may
Yeah.
like a specific feature from a let's say a Xiaomi or from an iQOO or from even a Vivo, I may sway straight up and go the other side of BBK and
Hmm.
go with an Oppo. It is absolutely down to how we use it, what we use it for, and our workflow. So
And
that's the
and for
primarily based thing.
each of these categories, we just want to showcase that there were companies still pushing the boundaries on what our pocket computer phone cameras can achieve.
Hmm.
And in an era where I feel like there's a lot of tech apathy, it was really important to both of us to say there is really good work being done. And
Hmm.
if you miss why some of these changes are important, then you might miss some of the fun that you can really have with one of
Absolutely.
these pocket cameras.
No,
So
I'm with. Yep.
I think that's enough preamble. We loosely talked this out. I have a winner and a runner up that
Okay.
I have selected for each category,
And
and
I will have
then
an answer for
TK
every
is
single
going
one
to
of them.
rejoin
Hmm.
that to tell me I'm wrong.
I'll start off. That's how I'll answer. Like as soon
Well,
as you finish yours, I'm like, you are wrong, and
because
this is the
there's
right
really
answer.
no point doing something on the internet unless it's combative or confrontational. So I figured that
Arr.
was the best way for us to set this up.
If we
We
don't
want
end
to
the
do
year
this
with a
as
fight, I think that nothing's
right. You
going
gotta
right.
with a bang
Yeah,
and with a
exactly.
pow.
Yep.
But this is also something like I might actually write some of these up and reach out to these brands and say, hey, we were really taken. We've done this as sort of a wrap up for our year, and that maybe moving forward we could actually turn this into more of like a proper like we meet at a venue and we both wear ties kind of an affair. But we wanted to
I
try and
like your
just
plans. Let's start let's
get
start
a
where
sense
we
of this
are.
first.
Yeah. No,
This the very first Juan and TK Best of Our Week Smartphone Camera Awards T-shirts and hoodies, and we'll
yes.
grow from there. So there we
Let's go.
go.
I think that's
All
a
right,
good start.
so category number one. I should tell people we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 categories. So it's not going to be
15.
a late night. I promise it's not going to go that long.
Okay, 15. That's a lot of
First
categories. Okay, go for it.
category,
Yeah, go ahead.
best selfie. Because anyone who watches my camera reviews knows I hate taking selfies.
I was
So
gonna say, people would think I like to take selfies, but no, keep going. Yeah, yeah, I'm with you.
my grand champion for 2023, the
Mm-hmm.
best selfie shooting experience was the OnePlus Open. And my
Okay.
runner-up,
Okay.
Galaxy Z Fold 5.
Okay. So I want to preface it saying this. Juan says the word selfie, but I don't think he's
Hmm.
necessarily referring to a selfie camera. You're referring
The
to a selfie.
best selfie
Selfie.
shooting experience for 2023, OnePlus Open Z Fold 5.
Okay. Um, okay. You're not wrong. And I know, and I'm
You
gonna say,
already broke our joke. You're supposed
what
to
I mean,
start
like,
with
wait,
Juan, you're
no,
wrong.
I said you're wrong. I said wrong, and I said you, and I just said there's not in the middle. Well, because you kind of okay. So on this category, the way I look at a selfie
Hmm.
for me is a slightly so. And this is again going to be how we look at it differently. I do like to take selfies with the main sensor on the back because you do definitely get the best image out of your device.
Right.
But and I'm going to have my answer is in two folds. It's going to
Hmm.
be where it's going to be the for best selfie on a regular phone and a best selfie on a foldable, because both of the devices that you listed on are both foldable devices, so therefore you're able to use the selfie in that good creative way.
Right.
From a standard smartphone, I'll say that the Find X6 Pro no, that's right, the Pixel 8 Pro is my favorite
Pixel 8
selfie.
Pro.
Yeah, front facing
That
camera,
was my
Pixel 8 Pro.
if I had a third runner up,
Yeah,
the
so if
Pixel
you
8
have to
Pro
if you have
would have
to
been
take the
right in there.
phone and you're holding the phone
Right.
selfie style, I think the 8 Pro will take the cake. It's consistently one of the best cameras I've ever seen when it takes the selfies
For
because
sure.
it treats it very much like the main sensors on the back.
But what was important for me
Yeah.
was having been such a Surface Duo nerd,
Yeah, yeah.
one
No.
of the things that actually does become a tangible improvement going to this kind of plastic bendy screen style phone is that ability to still use your rear camera with a framing display.
And I
And I
no,
think
no,
the
no,
only
I'm with
phone
you.
that gets us close is I considered Xperia just because of the little vlog display, but that
Okay,
gets too complicated if you have to add an accessory
that's $100
to.
accessory. Yeah, that's not like
Yeah,
how it comes in
that
the box.
can't count. Yeah,
So from a foldable though, I agree with you on the Open. I think the Open slash N3, the cameras on this, and the reason
yeah,
I fall for that is because I'll say this. I love this device. I'll
yeah.
say this, and I'll say this to the end of 2023 till the Find X7 Pro proves me wrong. Um, the Find X6 Pro is by far one of the best shooters for me. And when you take that language, when you take that relationship that Oppo has with optics and what they've done,
Hmm.
the Open is just so much like it. It is so much like
Yeah,
the Find X6 Pro for me. So then, yeah, when
it's
you
real
use the
close.
phone and you open it, no pun intended, and you use it like it's supposed to be with the main sensor and you see yourself, absolutely
Hmm.
one of the best foldable selfies that you can get. There's no question on that. I think the Samsung the Z Fold 5 is a great option. I think it's
Hmm.
a great camera. But I probably if I had to kind of just like I said between the two, it yeah, Pixel 8 Pro and
Pixel 8
Open
Pro.
for me. Yeah.
I'm not arguing with that. Pixel 8 Pro was so close to taking my runner up, but it
Mhm.
was the for me it's the practical functionality of that outer
Absolutely. No.
display.
I'm
So
yeah.
best selfies, I think we've got a
Best buds,
pretty
best selfie.
good,
Yeah.
a pretty best buds forever. But I think we've got a pretty good, not like complete agreement, but I think we're on the same page with what we value for a selfie shooting style experience. That's going to move us on to our next category.
Yes.
I'm going to also post this in the chat too. We're going to talk best autofocus.
Ah. Okay.
So, best autofocus for me
Okay.
are going to two companies that finally did the thing we've been asking them to do for years now.
Okay.
And my number one win goes to the Pixel 8 Pro,
Okay.
not only because it has such a good sticky autofocus, but that they finally incorporated the additional tools in an autofocusing system that can give us a little bit more manual control, better distancing control when we want astrophotography,
Hmm.
and focus peaking when we start using some of those tools. And the immediate counterpoint to that The runner-up I have is the Xperia 1 Mark V for the best eye tracking autofocus, and that they also finally brought us focus peaking in
I
their camera app.
Okay, so I'll say is that your first runner-up is wrong, absolutely wrong on this one, and I say this because, with all my love and all my respect to Mr. Juan Carlos Bagnell, Sony wins on this, dude. Come on, Sony autofocus for me has
It's
been. I
really
mean,
good.
okay, regardless of the hiccup we had at the beginning of the show, if you were watching the show, obviously not listening to it, where my Sony camera just did not want to focus on my Vivo phone, but that's a different conversation.
Sure.
Crazy autofocusing level on the Xperia 1
It's
Mark V.
Skynet on your eyes.
It is
Yeah.
great, but
It's
not just
really
you.
good.
It's crazy good on the pets. It's also crazy good
Yeah.
when you turn around, it loses eye focus and it comes back to you. The
Mhm.
new camera system, the autofocusing that we get on the 1 Mark V is, for me, hands down. If I have to make sure that I'm in focus, and that is my
Yeah.
number one priority. I mean, not to say that I can't get good,
Sure.
like focus, good video, and I have the ability of setting up my shot. I would say that the Xperia, for me, the 1 Mark V, would be the winner,
So
not the
again,
runner-up. But I appreciate what.
I'm like
Yeah,
95% on the same page as you.
yeah.
The reason why I'm gonna give Google the nudge,
Okay.
the Sony platform is still a very camera focused, professional grade kind of system, and nothing is as point and shoot consumer accessible as Pixel's sticky autofocus, where you tap
Yes.
once on someone and you can focus and recompose, you can move your frame and it's going to
Six.
track the subject like nothing I have ever seen before.
No, no,
Pixels still do that better than anyone. So
yeah.
now that we finally have a few of those additional tools that Sony has done so well, I had to give my nod to Google by like a percentage point of a scoring difference between the two.
The Pixel 8 Pro is legit. It's a legit good focusing system. I don't disagree with you, and I'm totally with you with the
Well, and
sense
it's
of what it
for me, it's
does.
a legit good consumer, like accessible, ease of use focusing system. Sony is so much better when you do need to dig into a manual focus or focus peaking or any of those additional one layer deeper.
Yeah.
Sony crushes
Well,
when
and
you
if you
need that
treat the
control.
phone more like a camera, not than it
Camera.
is, then yeah,
Exactly.
if you want to treat your smartphone more like a DSLR level of control, absolutely. And then that was the reason why I chose Sony and why I would like to choose Sony is they also have, like
Mhm.
you mentioned, the rear display, that level of incorporating first party accessories to help you get that best shot. For me, those are the extra levels. But again,
For sure.
it's a fine tune of saying, look,
But I feel like you'd be with me like the two phones, you just flip the order.
yeah, I actually that's not a bad idea. I think the Pixel
Okay.
8 Pro would definitely be up there. I probably would have said the Find X6 Pro as far as autofocusing was for me, but still a better, especially when it's set up and you because it does pretty decent job when you have to
Find
when you
X6
tap on
Pro was
something.
really close. But I mean,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
got in for me it was like a cluster
It's just it's
of
not available internationally. That's the only
well, and I had
downside.
like four phones that were like third place. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Vivo system is really good, the Xiaomi system is really good, the Oppo system is really good. Like
Mhm.
they're all really good, but I felt I had to give the award to the two companies that actually pushed new functionality into focusing
Yeah,
that we've been asking them to do forever now.
yeah,
You
yeah.
remember it was like a month before the Pixel 8 came out and I was still complaining about how I can't manually focus on the sky. The autofocus in your night mode doesn't work well, but now you've got a new far focus mode that
Yep.
works a lot better if you want to take pictures of the stars. So I think, again, I feel like we're doing pretty good there. Let's move on to category number 3.
Número tres.
I'm going to drop this in. Best audio recording system.
Okay.
Best audio for your phone. And this is obviously like, I couldn't
I
give
was going to
Sony
say
the win for
LG
best
wins this next
selfies.
conversation. I'm sorry.
Well,
You
was
know,
haven't
they're not
released a
playing the
phone.
game. Yeah, I know they're not in
They
the
missed
game.
the deadline for
Wrong
releasing a
year.
new
Wrong year.
phone.
I thought we
Right.
were doing the 1990, the 19,
LG
2019.
V50. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, best audio recording. My first pick is the Galaxy S23 Ultra
Okay.
as an entire system for what tools you can use to not only control your gain, but also your audio input. I
Mhm.
think they have the best menu for giving that conveyance to the user. And then my second, and it's a very close runner-up, I could be swayed to flip these, the Xperia 1 Mark V.
Oh, the Xperia 1 Mark 5. Actually, I wasn't even going there. I was actually going
Because
to
you
go
have
with.
good tools and you can use the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack as an audio input.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. Okay,
So
so for
those are my two.
those are okay. Well, dude. I mean, you went really good. Samsung. I will say I've been a big fan of Samsung's approach to audio input, but I will say audio recording for me, especially with the new improvements that we've had, I'm
Hmm.
actually going to go Pixel 8 Pro. It's kind of a
It's good.
weird way. I went the other way because I'll say
Yeah.
this. Some of the improvements that we've gotten over it, because again, we're keeping the 8 Pro in the conversation, we're being
Hmm.
specific about it. The audio eraser, that to me was actually like a legit good tool to use. The
That's
audio
our next
recording,
category,
yeah, well,
TK.
but it's in video, right? It is something that we
No, no,
use in
no, you're
video.
not
Yeah, yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
am not disagreeing with Pixel 8 being high level in this conversation.
absolutely.
So I deducted a small what nudged the Xperia over the line for me
Oh,
was
yeah,
the
yeah,
flexibility of the platform.
absolutely.
It bothers me when the user has to memorize what features they can use in which frame rates and modes.
Yeah.
So for Google, you get an incredible audio processing, speech processing mode,
Hmm.
but it kicks you down to 4K 30.
Well,
And
that's
the
true. Yes.
second the phone takes control out of how you're shooting your video, that to me is one of those things like you're forcing the user to memorize a flowchart, not focus on their content. And
Absolutely.
on a Sony, if I want to go with a Bluetooth mic, with a USB mic, or the 3.5 millimeter mic, or the phone's built-in mics, and change the direction of those mics,
Hmm.
4K 120.
Yep.
It
Well,
doesn't it doesn't matter what I'm doing. You can control for any frame rate, any resolution, any quality, and that
it's
to
the
me just
Pro Tools.
helped keep Sony as the runner-up. I really love Samsung. Samsung is the closest we have for selecting your audio input
Mhm.
that we lost from LG.
Yeah, well, and it also has that
It's
directional
really
focus as
clean.
well. The able to
Exactly.
front focus, rear focus, like speaker, subject, all of that good stuff. I think from between the two conversations, I mean, I agree with you on the audio. I was looking at it more in the sense of onboard mics, onboard
For sure.
processing.
Yeah.
Sony does a great job again, the leveraging of inputs, the ability of
Hmm.
having a 3.5 mil, the ability of using USB-C audio, the ability of using Bluetooth audio, all of that, just hook it up. Sony
Hmm.
will be like, give me, give me, give me. Uh,
Gimme.
but it is a type of those type of solutions where you have to kind of look into what you're able to do. The definitely a second runner up for me on the Sony Xperia is always going to be the professional level. From an
Yeah.
on the go type of audio solutions that I've been using for many years, not even just on the 8
Hmm.
Pro, mics on Pixel since the Pixel 6 Pro for me have been absolutely fantastic. Picking
Yeah.
up picking up speech, making sure recognizing the conversation
Even
correctly,
cheap Bluetooth earbuds, if you can
still picks
switch
up.
over to the speech processing mode and shoot 4K 30, it is incredible what
It
you
is
can get out of a Pixel. But
absolutely.
I just wish I could keep that for 4K 60.
That was the thing. No, no, but even with when we talk about the next category, when we're talking, especially with that
Yes.
new feature that we just got, realistically, we're gonna dive in a little bit more. But for me,
Hmm.
again, I think if I had to kind of go first and run it up, 8 Pro, Xperia 1 Mark 5, I think that'll be my list, and
And
it's
then
purely
Samsung is like a close third.
well, no. So here's my concern. If we're talking about just straight up on device, then it
Hmm.
would probably go Samsung and Sony and Pixel 8. Not
Samsung and
not
Pixel
big
8.
yeah, because the on-device mics are absolutely fantastic on both. I think I like the Pixel more because of the additional functions, although
Hmm.
Samsung allows you to do more directional,
Sure.
and it does a better job of maybe reducing the outside noise. The post-processing, I still feel like Google wins at this. It's like their bread and butter of
I
how they
think
they do
no,
that.
I completely agree. I mean, it's always acid in my mouth when I have to compliment Samsung on anything.
No, no.
But I really feel with the S21,
Mhm.
Samsung has found this really lovely balance. I
Yeah.
think Google does it a little bit better, but when I get a really nicely balanced audio track that can focus on the voice but doesn't completely destroy your background or ambient sound, and I can control the directionality. I feel like Samsung has done something really nice there that
Absolutely.
often gets overlooked in a
I'm
lot
not
of
taking
our
away from,
camera
yeah, no, no, no.
conversations. So
From an audio experience, jumping into pro mode, absolutely a banger. Like I said,
yeah.
the fact that you can, it's simple, it's easy. You click on it, you're like, I want Bluetooth and built-in mics. I want
and
front-facing audio,
and I want to
rear-facing audio.
dial back the
Exactly.
level, the
No, no, no.
gain, and
Absolutely.
you're done, and you're off
Yeah,
and
yeah.
shooting, and it's
It's
so
LG. This is
nice.
why I started the whole joke with the whole, like,
You
LG
should have
wins.
given okay, so that actually does take us, and like we've kind of teased it already.
A little bit.
We have more photography and video focused categories, but once we started talking about audio, and TK brought this up, we do have to talk about the best onboard included editing tools.
I
Now,
feel
this
like
one's
I think
tricky.
no, it isn't. I feel like we're
No,
gonna
no,
get
no,
the
no, no,
same
no. I'm
answer.
serious.
But
This
yeah,
this
go
one's
ahead.
tricky because I'm going to draw a bias line in the sand. All Android phones can come with Google Photos. But because Google Photos supports pixels a little bit differently than other devices,
Hmm.
I am going to talk that this category is to focus on what the manufacturer has included for their own photography and video editing tool. So like OnePlus has its own photo gallery and there are tools in the OnePlus gallery. That is what OnePlus's entry would be, not Google Photos on a OnePlus.
Yeah, no, I'm with
So
you. I'm with you.
my winner, I think this one's pretty obvious. My winner is the Pixel 8 Pro. Like I don't think that's a controversial statement. But my runner
No.
up is the Galaxy S23 Ultra. I think Samsung still keeps the best collection of alternative camera app that then moves into its own post-processing workflow. Editing portrait photos, trimming the heads and tails of videos. I think Samsung is the clear second place for a lot of our on the run, run and gun, quick edit kinds of solutions.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you on as much. I will say one thing we haven't really kind of looked into is the reality of when we start talking about editing, Sony is not necessarily falling too far behind in
No,
bringing up tools. So
very good.
while I will say primary, secondary cameras, and some people may pick on the fact that Sony has multiple cameras in app in the same phone,
Right?
and then now they're kind of consolidated. Like there's Video Pro, there's Camera Pro, and sorry,
Hmm.
Photography Pro, and all of that. Recently, with the Xperia 1 Mark 5, Sony has introduced a so actually with the Xperia 1 Mark 4, we have audio
Hmm.
the audio editing tool that enables us to actually
Yeah.
export. So you can record audio from a studio experience like a conversation, music track, and
Hmm.
audio track, and through their AI and online services, you're able to actually separate the tracks, like actually
For sure.
legit do audio sampling to the level that you expected. They also introduced an app that allows us to do video editing straight on device from
Hmm.
Sony to create reels and shorts and short form content, be it landscape or portrait.
Yeah.
So from
I
that,
I was torn because I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like Sony has again, for me it's kind of like the same that we had the conversation with focusing. Sony has captured a more professional idea of video and audio editing workflow. Like it's
absolutely.
more familiar if you've used Adobe or DaVinci Resolve or something
Hmm.
like that.
Or Vegas, or if
The
you've used any of the
Yeah,
Sony,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and anything
It
out there.
it
It's
has,
so much more familiar. But if you haven't used stuff like that, you're more an iMovie kind of person.
yeah, I
The
know.
head and tail trim on Samsung is so much better than Google Photos.
And I
Like
was gonna say
it's so
Samsung is
much
where I would,
cleaner.
if I had to put my eggs in a basket, I'll probably say Samsung. Nothing against Google Photos on Pixel, and I
Sure.
realize that it's a Google Photos on Pixel, but
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's limited into that, and it's limited to being on that type of device, and
Hmm.
but if you do have Google One, some of those features do come over to other devices with Google Photos, but just not as
Yeah.
good. I'm with
Not
you.
as good.
So for me, if I had to kind of go between the two, it wouldn't necessarily be Pixel 8. It would probably be a toss up between the S23 Ultra and the Xperia 1 Mark
Fair
5
one more try.
because of the level of
I'd feel
approach that we can edit.
I
Again,
feel really
Samsung
good
does really
about
good.
Xperia being my number three. Like
Yeah,
again, I feel like we're juggling those three phones. They're all gonna get you through high level work
yeah,
out in the field.
and
So
both, if you, I mean, kind of really, we're going to be pulling at straws here, but like if you consider the S23 Ultra and the Pixel, not the Pixel 8 Pro, but the 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 Pixel, the Xperia 1 Mark V, both have video out. You can connect them to a larger display, connect the mouse, and you can
Yeah.
do much better fine-tuned editing, even with within their built-in editors.
Because
Uh,
I was really just focusing on the specific tools, but
yeah,
you take those tools and you throw them into decks, and that's a win over the Pixel 8 Pro.
yeah.
But if it's just on the phone, again, I
I
was
mean,
with
yeah,
you.
yeah.
But again, it was like that requires an accessory, and I already bounced Sony from Selfies for not
But
having for
I
not
too
using
many.
an accessory. So
I'm with you. No, no, I'm
this gets, you can see. I mean, we're doing this kind of tongue in cheek, but like it is really hard to kind of settle on the criteria and then stay consistent and not, well, but if you do this and then that's
well,
better. You know, like you've
because
got to score it and keep to the score.
when you live with the device, when you use the device day in and day out, and you start using, and you especially, you look for these little features that get dropped.
Yeah,
A lot of these devices are not just a simple. I mean, they're really good camera systems,
sure.
but some of the other features that the devices come with that are unique, let's say DeX or desktop mode experiences, or even video out, XNA on the whole desktop, even if
Yeah.
it just has video out, that could make or break a conversation for some
So
people out there. But yeah, I'm
that's
with
our next category. This is the category
you.
that was the hardest for me to score.
Ooh,
I
okay.
struggled the most with this category. And our
Ah,
next
ah, ah,
category, it's like an offshoot of best selfie,
not selfie. Yeah.
best business or webcam functionality.
And we're
And
talking about native, right?
native.
Native. Okay, sorry. Because I was going to say anything could be a webcam. I could
So,
just install Joycam. But yeah, no, I'm with you.
but
Yeah, no.
kind of built in, and I feel like the best tools for this year came by my top pick, and I am not very confident on my top pick here. I could very easily be swayed on this one to bounce it.
Okay.
Moto Edge Plus 2023 as
Okay.
an all-round business grade video machine,
Mhm.
and then just by the skin of its teeth, the Pixel 8 Pro for our December drop, now including a dedicated webcam function. So it's not that you add an accessory to the Pixel can become
A
the
webcam.
accessory for something else.
No, I'm with you.
So the Moto Edge, I think, can do that too. You can
Yeah.
plug your Moto Edge into another computer, and with Ready For, you can do some cool stuff that I don't think very many other phones do natively. But this was the most difficult because I wanted to do foldables. Like I think
Mhm.
foldables make for amazing business or webcam conversations. I ran a show off of a foldable. You've run a show off of your foldables.
I've
But
run
when it,
shows off of tablets even. That's not
yeah,
even. Yeah. No.
but when it really came down to all of the tools, what cameras you can use, what settings you have access to, I ended up there, but I'm not. This is the category I'm the weakest on. I'm not feeling like I can defend my choices 1000% on those two
And,
phones.
and you're referencing it, just to be clear on this category, we're referencing these
Hmm.
devices being good sorry, not gaming, good business slash webcam on device. We're not
Yeah.
trying to consider them saying that, hey, if I connect this to a PC, then it becomes like a business tool. Or is that
Well,
because that's
I
what the Pixel 8
feel
feature is?
it's fair
Okay.
to say the phone is doing a good job as the business or webcam
Mm-hmm.
for another computer. You don't have to add a piece of hardware to the phone.
Okay.
The phone is still the camera
Mm-hmm.
for another device. But that's what I had to sell myself in my brain just to get to a conclusion. I don't know that that's necessarily the right answer.
So for this one, for me, this one is a it's oddly enough. I mean, I feel like it's a slam dunk for me for Moto. Moto has been doing this for some
Well,
time, and
and
I
that high
and
resolution selfie camera for video calls is one of
absolutely
the strongest options I think I've seen for talking
talking
to
and just
someone.
being on
Yeah.
camera in video and conversation, absolutely. And I've used I think I remember, was it not this year, was last year, 2022. We used the Moto Edge 2022 version, the one that
Hmm.
I had for a short term from Verizon. I was at
Yeah.
Disneyland with the family. We were at the hotel. We did the whole show from the phone. So it
Yep.
was that type of solution for me. And that was why I feel like Moto for me kind of reigns into that area. It's what it's trying to leverage, what it's going to do there. And I'll probably also say Lenovo also does quite a bit well, which is the parent
Oh,
company.
think
Yeah, so the
phone.
Think phone would have been my other choice. I
Yeah.
got a chance to use it, but I never tested out that full function. If Adam is in the chat, I'm
Yeah,
sure Adam can jump in and give us a little bit of his input. But I feel like
that's
Lenovo
that's a
also,
good pick.
yeah. So the Think
I,
phone
I
would be one of my other ones.
I haven't had so like yeah, I wouldn't be able to answer that at all because I have held a Think phone and I've played with it for minutes,
Yeah.
which means I have not been able to test Think phone side by side
Yeah,
against
we were
like an
at
Edge
Moto's
Plus.
headquarters playing around with the S20 with the new
Yeah.
2024, and they had a unit sitting there with
The
glasses
the
and all.
the one thing I couldn't come to a conclusion on
Hmm.
was where Samsung might have fit in this conversation. Because I
I
think
feel like
Samsung could be really strong, but they as a phone brand, I don't think of them in the same business grade, doing the business corporate communications kind of way that Moto just seems to naturally fit. And that's totally a personal mental block or a personal bias in
mhm.
how I think about these phone brands. But Motos have been so good that I've inextricably linked them with that idea. And it was really difficult trying to come up with what would be a runner up. And I don't know
For
that I
Samsung, I feel
stuck the
like the
landing.
S23 Ultra series will definitely do a really good job of being that type of solution. I don't see it as having a problem. I mean, I think for me, it's just more of the based on what I've had and where I look for. If I have a choice of device, which one would my hand gravitate toward? It would
Right.
be a Moto slash
A
Lenovo type
moto,
of a
yeah,
yeah. So that would be my
for
only
sure.
thing. And then even the Razer also actually does a decent job.
Oh,
So the Razer as well, because it
yeah.
carries also some of those the other functions from it.
Yeah.
But
Even
again,
some of
2023.
the wireless ready for functions would probably be really good for that too.
It 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 is a possibility, but just keep in mind again, the main function of this is obviously which one would you just basically run and gun it? If you had the
Yeah.
meeting and you're doing this all the time, and this is your business phone, the functions that we get with the 2022 edition of the phone, actually, if nothing else, the pen
Yeah.
input, the display, the function, the battery, the charging speed,
All
and just the
good.
overall
Yeah.
performance were really good. And the 23 just lost the pen, but kept a lot of the improvements in there. The
Everything
price
else.
dropped about
Yeah.
100. We still had the function. So yeah, for me, either way, I think it's a good solution for business decisions if you want to do it.
Good deal. Okay, so I don't feel so bad about that.
No,
It
no, no.
is,
We
and
keep
again,
going.
it was like I wrote these categories and I got to that one thinking it was going to be a slam dunk, and then I went, oh no.
No, 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 no.
So moving on, we've got a series of more photography focused
Sure.
categories here. Next up, we're going to move to best low light performance. And
That's a
I'm
tough.
purposely leaving this one just a little bit broader
Okay.
as not just, best HDR auto mode, but I feel that there are two phones that across the board approach dark conditions better
Okay.
in almost every setting you can use them in.
Could it have anything to do with the sensor, my friend? But let's just keep going. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. My
It absolutely does.
yes.
So my A number one, my
Hmm.
top pick for best low light performance is the Vivo X90 Pro, and
Okay.
then my runner up is the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. And I know what phone you're gonna swap in there, and I was very close to using that phone in this double up too. But I have something about that I can counter on.
Okay. So I'll say that the X90 Pro for me was a great phone. So the thing about it is it's when we got access to the device and when things kind of
Sure.
progressed from there. For me, it was in order of X90 Pro, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, we got the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, and then no, wait, no, X90 Pro, Find X6 Pro, then Xiaomi 13 Ultra. I got it. The Pro came out first. The 13 Pro came out first. So I'll say that I'll agree with you that yeah, the fact that the larger the sensor, the more light it's able to absorb, to actually be able to bring in, the better the low light performance is going to be. There's no question on that. And there literally is a small handful of devices in 2023 that technically have a 1-inch sensor, not technically
This
that
one big
actually have one.
advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a tough choice to kind of like throw things around.
So
From a
the reason
global
why I feel
standpoint,
my
yeah,
the
I was
reason why
about
my
to say
runner
yeah.
up is totally debatable is The two other phones we can put in there were Chinese releases only.
That would have been my thing. So
Yeah.
although I would definitely put the Find X6 Pro ahead of it'd basically be an Ultra 13 Ultra win, and as well as a Find X6 Pro over the
Yeah.
Vivo. But then when you start kind of saying like, well, TK, I'd have to import the X90 Pro, sorry, the Find X6 Pro. Well, that changes the conversation. Is it accessible? Is it something that we're able to actually access?
So
Also,
I feel
usability. Yeah,
I feel it's okay
we can
that
agree on
because
the
we
list on
both
this. Yeah,
we imported them.
that's true.
Technically, you can buy them anywhere you want. It's just not as easy as if you live in China.
No.
Um, on our runners ups and versus the X90 Pro, the V series coprocessor manipulates light
Hmm.
like nothing I have ever seen, to the point where daylight photos can sometimes be problematic. The phone is so aggressive at brightening out of its own just sort of auto capabilities. But then you take that phone at night and its auto mode photos
Hmm.
come out cleaner, brighter, and sharper than most other phones' night mode photos. And then you go to a night mode and you hold still for like 3 seconds and you get a brighter, sharper, crisper image than holding a pixel still for 8 seconds. So I like, there is just a computational powerhouse of low light performance. I was so close to the Oppo for the companion sensors
Hmm.
for the Find X6, but the thing that nudged me just a little bit, I don't know how Xiaomi is doing this, but the raw capture and
Hmm.
the sort of I forget what it is. It's not expert raw, but it's like raw plus or whatever they do.
Hmm.
Just comes out cleaner than what the Find X6 Pro can do with its raw plus modes. And when I'm like out in the suburbs dark, I don't know how those smaller sensors are pulling out more information than the Oppo,
Hmm.
but that's granular because in the auto modes, I think they're comparable or the Oppo pulls ahead. But once you start like, hey, I want an image, I've got to really maximize, pull up information out of the shadows, the raw images from the Xiaomi just totally punched above. They were punching above their weight. So
No,
that's why I went to Xiaomi for my runner up.
mhm.
But Oppo in auto modes, I think is the clear winner, in
Nighttime
especially
photography
for their
for me
companion
is
sensors.
absolute pleasure with both. With both the Find X6 Pro, the
They're
13
great.
Ultra.
Yeah,
Yeah, and even the 13 Pro, if you have to kind of throw in a third one in there, just
it's
to kind of
good.
keep, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just that with the 13 Ultra, you have you're able to basically stop down. You're able to again control the amount of light you're able to put in. So there's a
Hmm.
little bit more control to the 13 Ultra. I feel like it's definitely edged over on this one. The Find X6 Pro is definitely right there. So for me, yeah, it's kind of a toss up between the two, but globally, it's the 13 Ultra. It's like I'm not saying it's a hard thing to say. Just it's no, I mean seriously. I haven't had the opportunity yet to fully test out the Android 14 update to the Find X6 Pro,
Yeah, I
because one
know.
really cool thing that happens apparently when you take a phone that is designed for the Chinese market into the Chinese market is that it gets the update. No,
Yeah.
I landed in Shenzhen to go in to cover to go check out
Bling
the thing.
bling bling
And
bling.
sure enough, as soon as I connected to a Wi-Fi network in Shenzhen, I checked if there is any option for a trial version, and it's like, yay, Android 14 is available. I clicked it. Not only did it download, but it wasn't a trial version; it was the full version of Android 14. So ColorOS 14 fully running on
That's
there.
great.
So yeah,
I love it.
I'm with
I
you. I'm with you.
love it.
It's a tough one, and even with the GT5 Pro that I got from Realme, that is also running
Yeah.
ColorOS. Yeah, ColorOS 14 as well. So definitely, yeah, it's up there. The size of the sensor. This is one of those conversations that it is
Yeah.
dependent on. Yeah, you could try to do
I
it with
like
smaller sensors, but you get grainy
I
and it's too
understand,
much.
and we've seen the physics on
Yeah,
the OnePlus Open.
yeah, yeah,
There's really exciting stuff that you can do with a smaller sensor to pull in more light and arrive at a brighter image.
yeah.
The total package of photo IQ, bigger pixels in that binned resolution,
Oh yeah,
shallower depth
the
of field, a
yeah,
more
yeah.
photographic look, and then it is also still radically good at soaking up light. It was Vivo, Oppo, and Xiaomi. Like
Yep.
they were the picks for that year. Moving on,
Hmm.
another broader category,
I'm gonna have
best
a little bit of a doozy for you on that one, but yeah, keep going.
best portraits.
Yeah.
best portraits. So, I am I'm obviously focused more on the portrait mode on our phones,
Yeah, yeah.
which is
I'm
a
with.
software computational cut out the subject, blur the background kind of a thing. But
Oh, okay,
very
okay.
lowly scoring, giving a few phones a couple little bonus points in the
Hmm.
background, were phones that had good optical depth of field
I
to
was
take a flattering portrait of someone.
actual flat. Yeah, natural drop. Yeah, sorry.
First criteria software. Second criteria as a backup, good optical. My winner this year was the Pixel 8 Pro.
That's
We did
surprising. Yeah.
Christmas cards and family photos, staged family photos this year on the Pixel 8 Pro.
No
My
natural.
runner up,
I love how you say.
my
Sorry.
runner up.
Yeah,
This one's good. You ready for this? Are you sitting down?
I
Are you ready?
I'm try.
The Vivo V29 Pro, the mid-ranger with the incredible ring flash that you can
Oh,
use off the rear camera.
okay,
That
okay.
is a phenomenal color tone accurate fill light like I have not seen on a phone maybe ever. Like this is so practical as because it doesn't burst flash, it fills.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
I haven't been this excited about a light on the back of my phone since the Lumia 1020. This
Oh,
is
I thought you were
so
going to talk about the
good.
Oppo R17, but yeah, sure, no problem. I thought we were
I
going to go
mean,
back.
good one too. I'm not going
Yeah,
to
no,
fight
no,
you on that
no.
one.
We're going to go back. We can go
But
back to it. Yeah,
this
sorry.
this system, this like whatever they call it, Orolight system,
Hmm.
really took me by surprise as such a fun novelty. This helps elevate a mid-ranger phone's ability to just take a really nice looking photo of a person. Not
Hmm.
good for taking a photo of yourself, but really good when you want to stage someone and you want to
Hmm.
get that good shot and you get much better lighting than a traditional camera burst LED flash because it's
I'm
just
with you.
this really soft, nice, and it's such a flattering light to have stuck to the back of a phone. So
I'm with you.
Pixel 8 Pro is definitely been one of the best for like setting up those family moments and everything.
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, off of my Pixel Watch, I'm taking staged family photos of us all together. But this Vivo really surprised me with being able to do things that I don't even, any of our premium phones are capable of doing.
So I won't disagree with you on the primary winner. I actually do think the Pixel 8 Pro, it, it's not just computational, but it is. I mean, the way they do portrait has
Mhm.
been getting better and better every year. And
And tell me, like the telephoto sensor, it's not the most flattering focal length, but it's a really good sensor at a
Mhm.
good focal length to kind of frame up a nice head and shoulder shot that doesn't like stretch or distort
Oh no,
your
absolutely,
your subject. So I really
exactly.
like what the Pixel can do on both the
Hmm.
main sensor at a 2 times zoom, and the telephoto sensor are all kind of nice in
They're
different
very.
situations.
And this is where I agree with you when it comes to computational. There's a little bit more manipulation into it,
Hmm.
and to generate the portrait.
Yeah.
But where I would feel like if I had to kind of go to more of a natural, where I'm not using the portrait mode, I'm using in the standard mode shot.
Find X6.
Yeah,
Find X6.
Find X6 Pro and
Yeah.
on the main
That
sensor
telephoto.
and the telephoto. The
The
telephoto
telephoto
is
is so good.
stupid good.
Yeah.
It is stupid good. Like it's so good.
Yeah.
I I y- I when I first tested that device and we were in Malaga and we were going out, we were hanging out, walking around the
Hmm.
mountains and whatever and having dinners and all of that. I used the telephoto more than I used the primary sensor, as much as I love the
Yeah.
primary sensor, like for bigger images. But when I was sitting and I
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
do a telephoto, like seriously, that 3x telephoto lens, it is
So
by far the
good.
standard. I still use it
That
today.
and that telephoto sensor is large. Is the same size or is it larger than
No, it
the main camera sensor on the OnePlus 11?
it is the see, yeah,
It's
it's
the one
again,
over 1.56. I think
it's
Barry will
not.
actually tell me what the model number is. My brain is Swiss cheese right
Yeah,
now.
yeah, no. So
But
Oppo
natural
did,
lighting,
yeah.
natural lighting, that was that was my second place until I remembered, oh, but the flash, the ring light on
Oh no, no,
this
the
Vivo
light
took me by
definitely,
surprise.
absolutely, yeah. It improves the image. You're getting better lit subject. You're definitely getting better imagery. If
The
I have to
honorable
go,
mention, because I
oh
don't think you
please,
got to play with one, and I didn't get to play with one,
okay,
but last year's Axon had a 35
oh,
millimeter equivalent lens, and they put
no,
out a Nubia this year with a 35 millimeter.
yeah,
And I have to believe there is this photo. I when Lex gets older, maybe I'll go through a backlog of old photos of Lex. But from the Axon in
mhm,
2022, I have this portrait of Lex that I shifted black and white. I shot it raw.
yeah,
It's this grainy, it looks like film. It's
oh,
this perfect focal length just to kind of frame her just below her shoulders up to her face. She's
mhm,
leaning on this tree in this flowery dress. And like the camera was so clumsy to use, but that hardware at a really good sensor with a 35 millimeter equivalent focal length was stunning. And now knowing that the Nubia had that big old huge lump to get that 35 millimeter lens on the larger sensor,
mhm.
I have to believe it's good, even though I know the camera app is probably infuriating to navigate around.
Oh
That
yeah,
was that in my brain. That is that is like my
not a
fourth
bonus.
place. But
Yeah,
the
yeah, no, no, no.
Oppo, the Find X6 Pro was easily in my pick. But I have to champion an inexpensive phone that has a wholly unique feature added to it for
A
that
functional
ring
feature,
flash.
functional feature.
A very
Yeah,
functional feature.
exactly. Yeah,
It's
not
so
just
pretty.
exactly. No, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I think it does sound like I'm sounding like a broken record where the Find X6 Pro shows up way too much in my list. But to
I don't
attest to
think
this,
that's incorrect.
it but to say that that device has not left me in any trip, on any event,
Yeah.
on anything that I've been doing for the last 7 or 8 months since I've got my hands on it, is literally an understatement. There is so much content on this phone that if you go back, you'll see exactly what I've been doing with it. And it's because it does the job that I needed.
Yeah.
It does it great. It looks great on film. It looks in a film, in
And
videos.
video.
And even when I need to be able to use it as a secondary or a backup camera, I've used it as a webcam in the past. I mean,
Oh yeah.
again, you're able to install the Droid Cam and connect it. It's not an impossibility, but for me, it's the versatility of the cameras, and they finally added 4K front-facing video, which is totally out
Yeah.
of Oppo's like lineup of we do this now. So yeah, no, no, I'm
It's about time.
it.
So
Hey, they did it when I was in Paris, so yes, I appreciate it.
so I feel I'm with you on that too.
No,
And
no, I'm with
especially
you.
for natural light.
Yeah.
I don't think anything was better for portraits in just good, nice natural lighting. Or you actually with the Find X6 Pro is also I maybe should have made this a category.
Mhm.
Um,
How good is your Zoom?
the no, the Find X6 Pro was the only phone that could kind of nudge the Pixel and the Xiaomi Ultra for indoor candids.
Yeah.
So when you've got that really lovely moment between family members across a living room, you can't shoot it from your main camera sensor. It's too wide. You see this like whole room and two little people are in the shot. So you don't want to shove the phone in their faces while they're going in for a hug or something like that, or they're all laughing at a joke. So the Find X6 Pro is the best phone at subtly across a living room distance in dim indoor cozy lighting, snipering off those moments, and they're just not a mess of blur.
Exactly.
That like we could maybe even add that to our roundup for next year. But candid photography, that was the clear winner for me,
Yeah.
was the Find X6 Pro. So
Absolutely.
our next category, we're about halfway through. I mean, we're moving through this pretty well.
We're
I
doing
think. I
good.
think we're
We're
doing
good.
pretty well.
No, no, we're okay.
The orchestra hasn't had to play us off yet. This is great. We're in control of that. It would be really embarrassing if they did.
Keep saying
So
that.
our
Yes.
next category,
Yeah.
best macro photography. We want to make
Mm.
something little look bigger.
Okay.
And my top pick,
Uh-huh.
Find X6 Pro.
That's
Second
a good one.
place, Xiaomi 13 Ultra.
This is where I'm going to come out of left field, my friend. This is
Uh-oh.
it's one of my
Here we
favorites.
go.
It's one of my favorites, and it's a
Let's do
weird
it.
one. but
I
it's
want to
gonna
see it.
be this guy.
Really?
Yeah, the P60 Pro from Macro, close-up photography is
Okay.
killer.
You think that's better than the close focusing distance on the telephoto sensor that can actually get an object bigger than the ultra wide focusing on the Find
I'll
X6 Pro?
okay. You're referring to best close-up macro, but you're not referring to it also, but when it comes down to photography and video. For me, it's an all-around
Okay.
one. What you're able to do with the camera system on a device, yes, taking one picture taking pictures is absolutely great, but I'm talking about close-up when you need to actually start doing photography, when you're getting closer to the subject, when you're trying to get those little images on the side, you're trying to get in really close. The proximity, the close-up proximity on the P60 is crazy good. Is absolutely crazy good. The limitation of it obviously is the device where you're able to use it and
Right. But
functions.
that's not
I'm
a
taking
part of our criteria. We're only
exactly,
talking about the
this is
cameras.
why
And
where I would
Huawei
say
makes good cameras.
what and a lot of the things we have right now obviously is just because they started. I will say the Find X6 Pro is right there next to it. If I had to kind of go say with really really good macro, I'll probably would go back to the Find X3 Pro with the that microscope.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that is not macro, that is microscope. At that point, you're reading atoms and DNA cells. But yeah, the Find X6 Pro and the P60 Pro for me would be it for 2023. Those would be my devices that if I had to kind of get close to a subject, or even if I wanted
Yeah.
to basically get those nice, like if I wanted to get the grain, if I want to take a picture of this, but I want to get the grain looking like as if it's valleys,
Yeah.
those are the two devices I would go. But if I want to shoot
Right on.
video, the P60. This is why
Okay,
the P60
I give
wins
you
a little
that.
bit.
I didn't actually weight video that hard, so I mean, I feel like that's a good, that's a fair rejoinder to
Yeah,
mine.
no, no,
The thing that rocked my socks is very few phones actually do a good job of closer focusing from the telephoto. I've had a bunch of people like, my phone does macros from the telephone. And you're like, probably doesn't. You're probably just cropping off the main sensor.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when I finally got those samples back from the Find X6 Pro, also Barry Johnson is in the chat. Barry
Oh
loaned
yeah,
me
please.
his Find X6 Pro, so I should shout out him for helping to contribute to the experiences on this list.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
did a
was
manual
watching Barry
focus.
and the gang last night on the podcast with JoJo.
Yeah, it was a
I was
good
like,
show.
yeah, the whole color with the background there, that just got me. I was like, oh, I will not. I was like, yeah, no, it's Sherman
I go
Williams.
in just to see what it could do, because like I don't have high expectations, but I go into manual mode
Yep.
and I manually set the autofocus on the telephoto, and I like, wait a minute, it's a farther operational distance, so I'm
Hmm.
farther away from this flower, but I'm actually getting a bigger image than if I'd done a 2x crop from the main sensor, and I'm not blocking the light because I have a longer operational distance between. So it's not as good for a minimum focusing distance.
Hmm.
The Find X6 Pro is just so good across all three sensors. So
The tuning
you
is
you, you can
crazy. Yeah.
you can get the same size of subject. So like I'm going to hold up a quarter.
Hmm.
You can make this quarter in my fingertips the same size, filling the middle of your frame.
Hmm.
But then all three sensors have different background view. So if you're doing it from the ultra wide, you see this huge expansive field of view
You
behind
see
the
the
quarter.
warping exactly. Yeah.
And it does, and it kind of gives you that not barrel distortion, but it's kind of like a pincushion kind of stretch to
Hmm.
the view. Then you can do a 2x crop from the main sensor, and it kind of focuses in. So there's less of the background expanding behind your subject. And then you can choose the 3x telephoto, and it's like super narrow, like immediately behind the quarter. That is, you can't do that as easily on a mirrorless camera.
No, no, but
The ability
I
to
will say that the the babies with the X100 and stuff like that,
the
maybe.
X100 is going to be well represented in our
Okay, okay,
charts
okay.
next
Well
year.
represented next year. You keep saying that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's sitting
All
in
right.
front of me. It's
So
calling at
so
me.
I
Yeah.
I've got we can move on to our next category here. I'm really strong on why I like my winner. I
Okay.
am not strong on what I feel was the runner up. So our next category is best zoom or best focal range.
And we're talking
So
native,
not
right? We're not talking about digital.
well,
Or
that's a part of the conversation because
oh,
some of these phones do a really good job with like a 2 times or a 4 times crop, and they
oh no,
count
no.
that as part of
Okay.
the focal range of the phone. Like space zoom on a Samsung is all digital crop.
Oh no, no.
Whereas like Sony actually has an optical
It just sounded like
telephoto.
you said something totally different when you said it, but I know what you meant. Like it's sort of
I'm
like
I'm sure
digital
that
crop.
probably sound dirty. I was talking about Samsung.
I
It just
know.
comes out of my mouth that
No,
way.
no, no, no.
I was actually trying to say something nice
Sorry, sorry,
about,
sorry,
but
sorry. No, no,
okay.
no. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Make your case. Make your case.
So best focal range.
Yeah.
It is not the best length of zoom, but it is the best quality across the widest zoom range.
Mm-hmm.
Xiaomi 13 Ultra, because you've got the 4 camera sensors, 3 of them are matched,
Mm-hmm.
and up until you get to like a 10 times zoom, this is some of the best consistency across the entire focal range for these devices.
Okay.
And then my second place, I don't have a good reason for it, but I went Pixel 8 Pro because the Pixel 8 Pro now includes high resolution modes for all 3, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the only phone that can shoot 4K 60 and swap camera sensors across all 3 in one clip without having to stop recording. So
Yeah.
I feel real strong on the Xiaomi because I think the Oppo is stronger in its range,
Mm-hmm.
but then the Xiaomi has a whole extra camera sensor that goes beyond the Find X6 Pro. So I think you get a better compromise of camera sensor to focal range with the Xiaomi. But the Pixel was really more just a commentary on video capabilities, and
Mm-hmm.
now Google has finally given us high res modes. They've been advertising 50 megapixel cameras and never given us 50 megapixel photos until the Pixel 8 Pro.
I think that a lot of things changed when they started approaching it as people may need pro modes or maybe need more control over these really
Yeah,
fancy cameras that we keep putting in there and keeping them in auto mode. I mean, don't get me wrong, they do great in auto mode, but it's just it's hard to keep telling me that this Lamborghini can it's fine, don't worry
yeah.
about it. It's in full self driving, you're good. Like,
Sure,
but
you're
then why
good.
get a Lamborghini?
Don't
Get a
worry.
what I mean? Like, no, I'm saying
Yeah.
is like, why do you need a 50
No, I'm
megapixel
with
camera
you. Yeah,
system?
for sure.
Go for the 12. I no, I don't disagree with you on the Pixel. I think the Pixel definitely does a really good job. I think the 13 Ultra will take the for me, if I had to kind of put it, it would probably be a toss up between the 13 Ultra, but also maybe the S23 Ultra. That's one weird part about it. The S23
Yeah.
is they do pack better telephoto lenses. They have 2 dedicated
So
telephoto, not
I don't agree.
no,
I think they pack, no, no, no. I
yeah.
think they pack similar telephoto lenses
Mm-hmm.
and use much smaller telephoto sensors. So
True.
Samsung's zoom range was high on my list.
Yeah.
But the problem I had was you're using those tiny telephoto sensors, the 1/3.5.
No, no, I'm with you.
They're smaller than third-inch sensors.
Uh,
They're 10 megapixels,
Yep.
but they save a 12 megapixel file, so 20% of your resolution is just made up, and they don't have the same video capabilities
No,
as their big brother sensors.
it was
So
more about the.
Samsung to me, just for
Mhm.
the advertised reach, would be like a third or a fourth place.
Okay.
But the actual photo IQ, I have to lean on reducing the focal range and then just getting significantly better photo quality. I just don't have quite the same amount of reach.
No,
That's why I went with the 2 that I did.
the 13 Ultra for me will always have a lot more functional reach and better quality images out of it. It wasn't
Hmm.
it was never I'll probably say it was never going to be the second seed. It was more about where I was going for primary and secondary. If I had to kind of shoot
Sure.
between the two, the S23 Ultra performed for me quite well in well lit situations for reach,
Oh,
for
it's
video
great.
recording,
Yeah.
and I say this because 90% of when I do take pictures of my son and when we're outdoors
Hmm.
is at pools.
Yeah.
They're sitting on one side of the pool and my son's on the other side of the pool.
Same.
And always been a situation where I'm able to, and I have quite a few shots from him in the pool doing, the whole jumping out of the water and then doing the whole butterfly switch.
Hmm.
And from across the pool, I'm able to get a
It looks
really good
good.
shot. And Samsung has been able to deliver. Mind you, it's well lit. There's not a lot of, I mean, a 10 megapixel sensor can still generate a decent picture. When you start getting a little bit more where you need more performance out of it, absolutely. The 13 Ultra with the reach that it has,
Yeah.
it's just astronomical. Like this camera system is crazy. One of the reasons why, again, when I travel, I do take both the Find X6 Pro and the 13 Ultra, and I
Yeah.
enjoy both. When I was walking around in Hong Kong a couple of weeks ago, I specifically dedicated an entire day of just shooting street photography with that. And the
Hmm.
reach that you get from one side of the sidewalk to the other side, you bring the world to you. That's really what it
Yeah.
is. You just bring the world, and with the grip and you get the configuration on it, it just runs right. So yeah,
So
I
my
mentioned Samsung because it worked
my
well
my
for me when
feelings
I
on that
used
are right in line with yours. While
it.
I was test driving the Note 23, like Lex has a soccer practice,
Yeah.
and I'm at the other team's goal, and it's bright, bright, bright California, like
Exactly.
post lunchtime light. It's
Hmm.
amazing. The
Yeah.
second the sun is a little not set, the
Mhm.
second the sun is a little lower on the horizon, those camera sensors start struggling, and as soon
Oh,
as you're into
absolutely.
dusk,
Yeah.
like you can forget about it. Whereas I feel like the Find X6 Pro is the best at this, but
Mhm.
the Pixel and the Xiaomi are close.
Mhm.
Dusk light is really pretty on those telephoto sensors for those three phones.
Oh,
It's not really
absolutely.
pretty on the Samsung. So
Oh,
it's
no,
just
no.
it's a more limited functionality where that
Sunsets. No, no, no.
Samsung does really,
Even
really, really
images
well.
like sunset photography with the Find X6 Pro, with the
Oh
zoom range,
God,
when you're
it's
trying to
so
get
pretty.
the colors just are crazy good.
Oh,
Absolutely. And for those type of shots, if I'm using the S23 Ultra, I would have to revert back to the main sensor. And you're right, it's just too big of an image, which too small of a subject sitting too far
yeah.
away. You have to kind of, again, you have to when you have to pick the all rounder and this for the shots. This is why you bring so many. It's like you have to have
Yeah.
like the Batman belt of phones.
I
Like
was gonna say the bandolier.
oh, okay, you can do bandolier. I'll do the
Chick, 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 chick,
the
chick,
bat
chick,
belt.
chick, chick.
I was like, what shot are we doing now? Macro? Hold on a second.
Hold on.
P60 Pro. What are we doing now? Low light, long range? Hold on. Find X6 Pro, 13
Hold on. Let
Ultra.
me attach my anamorphic lens adapter.
Absolutely. Yeah. Take that ring off and put the new ring and set it up
So
correctly.
here's one of the most divisive categories that I
Mhm.
think we would have if we were expanding this voting out to many of our friends and some of our family.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next category, and
Mhm.
it's also I'm keeping it broad. This is a very wide open kind of conversation.
Sure.
Best video recording.
iPhone 15 Pro Max.
Best video
No?
recording.
iPhone 15 Pro Max?
My my number one,
Yeah, yeah.
Xperia 1 Mark 5, and my
Okay.
number two, the Xiaomi 13 Ultra.
I don't disagree with you on the Xperia 1 Mark 5. I think that's a fantastic video recording.
So it
Especially
is,
when we're talking, because you're talking video recording, like real
yeah.
legit sit down, set up, not point and shoot.
So I want to factor in point and shoot is a part of this conversation
No, no,
too.
it is, but
I
it's the
think
ability of doing both. Yeah.
Sony has done a good job over the last 2 years of improving some. They still have miles to go, but they've improved some of the accessibility for Video Pro,
Hmm.
where it's an easier app for people to just
Oh,
point and
absolutely.
shoot. It
They've
looks super
simplified quite a bit.
complicated,
Yeah, yeah.
but if you just open it and shoot video, that video looks great. It looks so much better than their
Video Pro,
basic
not
mode.
Cinema Pro. There's keep in
Not
mind there's
Cinema Pro.
there's
Correct.
two
Yeah, yeah.
there is actually three apps to record video, but the one that dedicated to video on an Xperia 1 Mark 5
So
absolutely
much
was Cinema.
better. Yeah.
Video
Now,
Pro is it's simpler, still a little bit more complicated, but yeah, I'm with you.
so what pushed me over the edge
Hmm.
is Sony was the only manufacturer this year to still support 4K at 120 frames per second. And
Yeah.
I have not been able to recreate how good our cheesy little family videos have looked since the OnePlus 10 and the Xperia 1 Mark 4 and Mark 5. There is no other phone that
It's
Thanksgiving dinner is being served and you shoot it in 4K at 1/4 speed, it looks incredible. Lex is just swinging from the monkey bars at a park, and then you put like just a little fun music behind it, and it's this gorgeously like dramatic slow motion movement as you see her muscles rippling at the highest resolution that we can shoot 4K in. I mean, 120 frames per second in,
I know it meant. Yeah, I
and
know. I'm with you.
I can't not give it to the Sony at like what Sony's tools bring, and that's matched on all three sensors.
But that's the thing, though. Sony is it's the pro level tools of what you're able to do with it. I will say there is quite a bit of content that I shoot with when it comes down to video recording. The device that I've used the most,
Hmm.
and I've used Sony's and I've taken them with me, but when I'm traveling and when I'm using, it's a tough choice for me to try to go and shoot and do things on the go. Like when I was
Hmm.
with Xiaomi, okay, I mean not Xiaomi, with Oppo. I had the Find X6 Pro was the device that I was using primarily to shoot a lot of my B-roll, and
Yeah.
it's the quickness of the setup, the quality of the video, the reliability of the video that I get from it that has caused me to use it as my B-roll camera for the last 7 or 8 months. It's a tough choice for me to say that this device is not a good, like I can legit. I've actually, I'll say this. I've actually recorded an entire video with it as the main camera while I was traveling in Europe,
Yeah.
when I recorded my
It's so
Xiaomi,
good.
the Xiaomi Pad 6 review. The entire video was shot on the Find X6 Pro, and it's
Hmm.
that reliable for me that you
Yeah.
wouldn't even be able to tell that I wasn't using a DSLR. That's the level of quality. The 13 Ultra does a very similar experience, but if I
Yep.
have the time to set up and I don't have to do run and gun it, Sony will win for me.
Yeah.
But when you're on the go, you're on the show floor. Example, CES in a month. When I'm running
Hmm.
gunning it, Sony is a good system, but it just doesn't fit the job that I'm trying to
It
do. It's
it's
more of
it's
the
so much better if you're the cameraman.
absolutely.
If you're the host and camera operator, I've got to go Xiaomi or Find X6 Pro
Yeah, it's a tougher choice
for
because of
sure.
yeah, you kind of, I mean, seriously, the amount of stuff, and you've done it with me before, like events like Showstoppers,
Hmm.
PepCom, where you have literally lines of companies that you have to go through and
Yeah.
juggle who to talk to and conversations and all of that stuff. So again, when you're doing both, it's hard. But if you have the luxury of being able to bring a buddy that can be your camera
Yeah.
person, oh, absolutely. The Sony will knock everything out of the water
And
because the setup is just 90% of what it
And
is.
and and Farhan brings up a good point here. We have been reading the chat. I've been trying to
Yeah.
click on messages and stuff. And Michael Peppertech is. I hope you're feeling better.
Oh,
Sorry,
sure. Yeah.
I know we're definitely like on our awards here. He says if only Sony can give us HLog video raw support.
I was about to say
The
iPhone wins also, by the way. Barry has a
well,
point.
sure. No, the thing I like about the Sony is you can shoot flatter. They don't have a specific log, but they do have colors and filters and stuff that you can shoot flatter.
They
But
have
at the
sent it.
same
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
even in HEVC, the Sony is capturing video at almost a placebo high quality data rate. The Xperia 1 Mark V is shooting 150 megabit per second HEVC. And that's going to run you right up to the very limits of like what micro four thirds cameras can do while shooting 422.
Mhm.
Like you're so close and you've got a lot more room to edit than you would off of like some of these phones that are shooting like 30 megabit per second 4K 30. That video file is baked. Like there's nothing you can do to that.
Okay.
Sony's give you so much more room than you realize before you do want to switch over into a proper log. I don't know that I've ever had to mess with like in Cinema Pro you can shoot their HDR and it's super flat when you're
Mhm.
editing in a Rec 709 space.
Yeah.
And you can almost treat it like log. It's almost that flexible. So when I can mix that and then I can also capture at 4K 120 and I can still throw a LUT on and it works almost like it's log, I'm feeling pretty okay. I've never felt this like, oh, but if only I had. The only thing I want from a Sony is the ability to record directly to an SSD. That's it. That's like one of the only things that's kind of lacking on
It,
their workflow right
it's
now.
it's one of those solutions, and I will have to say, kind of like a little bit of an answer to Barry's point of view. Not that we don't. Uh, uh, the iPhone 15 Pro Max and the ability of recording and so on, it's just that it, again, keep in mind that it's based on devices that we use. We are, or at least
Yeah.
on my repertoire,
I
I'm not an
I
iPhone
have
shoot.
spent
Yeah.
minutes with an iPhone 15 Pro.
Okay.
I still haven't gotten my hands on a Pro Max because I really want to see what that telephoto sensor can do with that weird stacked optic that they use.
Hmm.
But one of the things that's still kind of great, you still don't seem to have as kind of locked off exposure controls.
Okay.
Like Apple's app still kind of gets in your way, and then you have to turn to third-party apps to try and like what's the Black Magic? Is that the newer?
I forgot the name of the one that they use
I
on
can't
iPhone.
remember the name of it because we don't use Filmic anymore because Filmic they laid off their whole staff. But like if I'm having to compare with stuff like that, I can also turn to Motion Cam or Mic 24 FPS Pro, whatever that name of that manual camera app is for Androids, and get a 1-inch sensor.
Mhm.
So I appreciate why the point and shoot experience has been so welcomed on iPhones. It's very consistent, but
Mhm.
it drives me nuts when auto exposure and auto white balance are so difficult to fiddle with
Mhm.
when I want just a standard camera photography style ability. If I'm shooting full auto, full auto, full auto, I just don't really care anymore. Like the only thing that kind of messes me up, pixels still get a little choppy when you're doing panning, like
Mhm.
especially if you have to whip pan. iPhones are better there. And you're like, cool. But for everything else that I've seen on all these other platforms, especially when you start looking at the high level Android camera phones, I'd much rather have a couple compromises, but then a full suite of controls baked in and some of these novelty features like 4K 120.
No, 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 absolutely. The 4K 120 capability, absolutely, it's highly, like, seriously. This is one of the one features I really want OnePlus to bring back. Their
Yeah.
limitation though is their selection of sensors and the readout.
Sensor, clearing data.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not going with the high readout sensors. They're trying to change. Um, it
Well, speaking of high readout sensors, our next category is best high res mode.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one. That for me, it's a tough.
Best high res mode. So, my two picks, and I am almost 100% confident what your reply is going to be on this one too. Xiaomi 13 Ultra
Okay,
and the Pixel 8 Pro as my runner up.
for the high res modes.
Best
I,
high
I,
res
I agree
modes.
with you on the first. On your primary pick, I feel like it's the right one. I think for
Okay.
me, yeah, for me, it'll be, if I had to go. Oh, I guess it's kind of a little bit tough one, actually. I'll say that. Okay, I'll
Because
say this.
guess what? My number three, and again, it was like I was battling
X90
between
X90 Pro.
no the
Oh,
Oppo
oh, okay.
because the
Well, no, yeah,
X90
yeah.
Pro doesn't match high res on the companion sensors.
Oh, okay.
So the Xiaomi is the
You're
only one that can do high res across all four,
Mhm.
and it can do high res and DNG off of the main sensor, so high res RAW.
Yeah,
And now Pixels finally have
allow
high
us.
res capabilities across all three. I really struggled between Pixel and Find X6 Pro. The Vivo's is amazing
Mhm.
on the main sensor,
I was about to say,
but
yeah.
we don't get the telephoto
Well, no,
experience
no,
to
no. Yeah,
match.
I think the Pro Plus benefits more from,
Exactly.
but yeah, which we don't
Exactly.
have. We don't have. No, no, I'm with you. I
And the
think for
Pro
me, with
Plus, I was considering that just on paper, even though I haven't really shot with it that much. I know you have. The fact that Xiaomi is also matching their companion sensors and the Find X6 Pro is matching their companion sensors is more important to me than some of the sensors being a little bit better on the X90 Pro Plus.
yeah, no, no,
So that the Pro Plus even got kind of nudged out in my criteria, kind of stacking all of these. Like I would have gone Find X6 Pro before Vivo on this one.
because I got a chance to play with the Vivo X90 Pro
The Pro
Plus
Plus, yeah.
before I got my hands on the X90 Pro. That was the weird part
They
about it.
really kind of upset
I
the
yeah, the
impression
order
of
of
the
things.
X90 Pro.
Well, because so what happened is we were at CES. I was hanging out with some of my buddies, our buddy Edabong, and of course, if you know him, E from Board at Work. He was gracious enough to. I
Hmm.
saw him at PepCom again, of all places. I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" He's like, and he was walking around with it. He had that red leather back, very unique, very distinctive look. I'm like, "Any chance I can borrow it for a little bit?" And he's like, "Yeah, you can borrow it for 24 hours." I'm like, "What?" I'm like,
Nice.
yeah. So he reset it, we set it up, and we went with it. So it was like, to me, it was like it was a fun toy to be able to experience at a time
Hmm.
where I really need a good, powerful device, and they
Yeah.
really did deliver. So, but for me, it is primarily the 13 Ultra and the Find X6 Pro when it comes to those
Yeah.
from that performance, because it's just it's a hardware situation.
Yeah.
You need good hardware to start before you can get to the level that you need. So for me, it's like
And I wanted to
very few
acknowledge.
companies focused on their ultras and are there on their pro line,
Yeah.
the best that they had, like Xiaomi and Oppo did this year.
Because I wanted to acknowledge, like, I think there is something interesting in the processing differences and
Hmm.
the optical differences that we saw going from the Note 22 to the Note 23.
Hmm.
Like, I don't think the advantage was the 200 megapixel sensor. I think Samsung did something really interesting with the way that the sensor processes light and using better lens elements.
Hmm.
And I think that's where we're getting this kind of clarity advantage going from 22 to 23.
Yeah.
But it's only on the main sensor. And what the Find X6 Pro can do, what the Xiaomi can do, and now what the Pixel can do across multiple sensors is so much more interesting. And it makes the camera feel, again, you never want to give a consumer a tool and then say, you need to memorize this mode works with this setting, and this setting can only work in that mode. And if you change this setting, it grays out this button, and you can't do this thing unless you remember that you then switch into cinema mode, and then that changes what options you've lost. You've
Yeah.
lost people. You're never going
Yeah.
to come. And so the Find X6 Pro, everything works.
Yeah.
Did you go wide? Cool. Did you go telephoto? Awesome. It's the same camera.
Yeah.
And the Xiaomi is the same, and the Pixel is really close to that too. You should not be memorizing a flowchart while you're trying to focus on composing content. And I think so few phones. The iPhone is actually, I think, respectably high on this list now. The
Yep.
iPhone Pro. You don't have to memorize a flowchart of what works where. You can just focus on pointing your camera at something and getting an awesome image out of
Well,
it
but that's
when you
how it
have.
should be, though. The hardware shouldn't be
Completely.
in the
Yeah.
middle of the process. It should be a background process. This is where I say this. The reason why I like to find X6 Pro, it's because when I get into the camera system and I'm shooting, I'm not second guessing myself. I'm like, am I gonna get a good picture here?
You
No,
trust that phone
that's the thing.
so fast.
And it is
Yeah.
the trust level. And again, it's the same way I trust the Pixel to take a selfie. I know that if I'm picking up that phone, take a picture with it, I'm gonna get a good picture. I don't look at the picture. I don't go into the gallery and say, "Oh, wait, how does that look good?" Like, maybe I need to put a No, I know how that picture comes out. I trust that the images that are coming out look really good. Um, some of the things that they're trying to do now with high res mode and sorry,
Hmm.
the video boost and all that other stuff, those are
Sure.
questionable things, different things. Obviously they're still in their infancy. It just dropped
Yeah.
as a feature. But if I have to kind of go in there with a high res solution, yeah, you know what you're getting. This is the thing,
Yeah.
it's a trust, and no flowchart. Yeah.
And it's exciting for Pixel that we finally made that step. The
Yeah.
6 Pro doesn't count there. The
I
7
was there
Pro
when you made the
doesn't count
recommendation to
there.
the engineers at Google, like,
I
"Hey,
said
what about a promo?" They're like, "Well,
they
we
seemed a
believe."
little annoyed with me, but I
Oh,
feel
dude,
like
dude.
they listened.
It's no different than that one time when I forgot who it was that asked Google engineers, say, "Hey, any reason you decided to go with a telephoto lens as opposed to an ultra wide lens?" Because, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Well, because we believe people want telephoto." And I'm like, "Huh?
Huh? Okay.
I guess you're not a parent." No, I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like, it was one of those conversations. Like, no, we want the flexibility. We want our devices to be able to fit the different scenarios that our lives are going to
Hmm.
be in. And in general, yeah, I'm with you. People like to bring things closer to them, and that is a big feature. But you have to make it, yeah, it has to be a suite of tools. It's a tool
Yeah.
set within a device. So yeah, for sure,
And
for sure.
I really think that this is one of the things we're going to move on to our next category. I'll shut up, but
Yeah, no.
to cap your point there, I really feel a lot of techies are overlooking how lovely and camera-like these expensive phones can be. And I understand they're trying to broach this conversation from whatever's easiest,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes it's just easier to be more camera-like.
Yeah.
And as Pixel has made some of those changes, things like I complain about the night sky autofocus to get astrophotography. Their solution before was not, it was holding your hand more, but it inevitably led to poorer consistency. And there are times where I just want to point it to infinity and let it take the photo, and it's so much easier to do that. So again, when we see these people, like these people who just kind of pick up, push a shutter button, put the phone down, and then they go back to whatever phone they really live out of, I think you lose the nuance of, there is an ergonomics or a flow. It's not a how does it feel in the hand, it's a does it do what you expect it to do, and can you learn how to trust it?
Yeah.
And can you learn how to anticipate what the camera is going to put out? So it's really philosophical and gobbledygooky. We're finally to the most important category of the night. It's not the last category, but this is definitely the category that will make us much more popular with sponsorships and with affiliate deals and with accessories. This is the category.
Likes go up, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And we're going to start saying words that we're going to see, like Google is going to start pushing this podcast out to people live, to more folks who would be interested in this. The best iPhone camera of 2023. I don't feel like this is maybe going to ruffle some feathers here. My top pick is the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and my runner-up is the iPhone 15 Pro.
Yeah. On that note, I'm just gonna walk off right now. Yeah.
I know. I said it.
No,
I went and did it.
Dude, you did it correctly. It is right. It is said. It is done. I think the gods have said it. Google, please open up the channels now. Come on.
We have declared the iPhone 15 Pro Max the best iPhone camera of 2023. You know what's really sad, TK?
No.
How predictable we've gotten in our old age is Aditya beat us to the joke by 2 minutes.
Oh, for the love of God, Aditya. Why would you not let the joke go?
So I
wanted to start the show with that joke. But
I know. I wanted to wait until we got into our last couple categories that were actually important. I'm not trying to slight the iPhone, but time and time again, when I'm looking at specific features, there is always one phone that does it the best, and that's the best thing that phone does.
Yeah.
And I haven't found anything on the iPhone that I see people really say they value where the iPhone does it the best. One of the things that I think iPhone does the best is this reactive, cinematic, autofocus whip move. Yeah. So like you tell the phone, hey, this is the subject, and then they're gonna look, and that look indicates where it should rack focus to the other device, but you have no control over it. And if you've ever used the programmable rack focus on a Sony, where you can say this point, and I want the transition to happen in half a second, that's what a rack focus really should be.
Exactly.
So and I'm not bringing that up because I think the iPhone solution is poor. I'm bringing that up to say it's good, but I can find an example of that feature that I think really contributes more on another device. I really appreciate that Apple is finally going with bigger camera sensors.
Yeah.
I do feel that just the point and shoot video experience is probably a little smoother than some of our best Android shooters. But that doesn't make it the best. It doesn't make the iPhone the best in any one category. And every time we see it improve, like from iPhone 14 to 15, Apple got better at processing accurate skin tone. Pixel still does it better. Like, you keep running into these individual moments of like, everything's good, but if I really care about this, then I feel like there's a phone that actually nails that. And that's what I want people to get excited about.
You're also looking at the the gamut of the devices that you have access to and the devices that we're able to work with. I will say that if you are in the in the iOS ecosystem, in your iPhone ecosystem, you like iPhones, and
Yeah.
this is the device that you want to use.
And
Yeah, I mean,
especially
by
if you're
definition,
familiar,
yeah, for the
because if you're
familiarity.
familiar with your iPhone, you'll get better photos out of your iPhone just because you know the feel of it more than an
Any
Android
device
phone.
that you use that you become familiar with and you're able to predict the functions of it without
Yeah,
having to do, we're talking about like algorithmic math at the
it matters.
in the middle of it, it absolutely matters. And I will say, of all devices that I've used in the past that I've used as well as for B-roll, I've tried using, I think the 13 Pro Max primarily is the last iPhone I actually had. I have not
Hmm.
chosen to go beyond that because of the eSIM situation, but that's just a personal thing. um,
Yeah,
it is good. It is somewhat consistent, and I say somewhat because it's not always consistent. It
yeah,
does sometimes shift. The tilt, the exposure will end up being too high. The colors are a little bit too flat, and it's like a weird. I cannot explain why it changed. And
yeah.
for me, when I have to rely on something that
I don't
is,
trust it.
yeah, especially when you're in a
It's
situation where
too
you
auto.
can't go back to do it, yeah, it's hard for me to rely on it. So at the time, that's why I don't use them as much. I have the iPhone 13 Pro Max, but I don't. I literally, yeah, it's a 512 gig device sitting with like 3/3 of it empty. It's. I feel
Oh,
bad, but like no, I choose. And again, prior to getting the Find X6 Pro, the 13 Pro was one of my favorite devices coming out. Going into MWC, hanging out and checking out and using it,
hmm,
and shooting with it, especially with the Leica and the Vibrant and the Leica Authentic
yeah.
modes. A lot of the stuff that Xiaomi's been doing this year has been great.
It's really
Then Oppo
good.
jumps in, then you get Vivo, and then of course now I'm getting a chance to play a little bit more on not video, but again, I feel like I'm not going to spoil too much, but again, with the things that I've seen with the devices that are coming, it's
Yeah.
exciting. 2024 is going to be a really exciting year, especially for video and for stills. But
I
yeah,
and I think we'll get into our proper predictions. I feel like after we get through we've got 3 categories left. We can kind of float what we think some of the trends might be for 2024.
yeah,
Moving on
sure.
back to our last 3 categories, and these are serious categories again, not us just being snarky about iPhones. Um, this one I struggled with because of pricing.
Okay.
Okay, so best point and shoot camera. The best, take it out of your pocket, get a snapshot, put it right back in your pocket. The accessibility, the quickness, the intimacy of being in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
My top pick, Pixel 8 Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and my second pick, Find X6 Pro. And those are both very expensive devices. And I really struggle with maybe putting in a Pixel 8. But
I
again, the whole point and shoot moment, maybe you need a telephoto. And if you don't have a telephoto, then a Pixel 8 is not as good a point and shoot system, even though the Pixel 8 Pro is significantly more expensive than the Pixel 8.
it's that flexible, but again, it's a tool set, right? It's the ability of
Yeah.
taking that phone out of your pocket, snapping that picture, knowing what it is, put it back in the pocket. You're there. You're not missing anything. You're not having to spend 20 minutes of like, everybody, please stop. Let's just redo it. Go back into yeah. I know. Can
And
you?
some of the smartest devices at also subject acquisition,
Mm-hmm.
Oppo's autofocus. I mean, I didn't give the Find X6 Pro my top win for autofocus, but in that moment, push shutter button, lock on something, it is one of the top options of the year. And Google's subject identification I just turned on 5 phones on my desk. Is phenomenally good in those moments. Like you don't get a lot of chances to take a photo on a Pixel because
Mm-hmm.
that buffer fills up real fast. You get like 6 shots and then it slows you down.
Yep.
But if you need to rely on that moment, I can't think of 2 phones I trust more to get that one moment if I only have that one
And
chance.
I have executed that command in that order as many times as you can count, because to me it is absolutely, it's reliable. It's there.
It's
You
necessary.
know where you,
Yeah.
and if you have to reach that telephoto, ever since the find, I think when we were sitting in we were with TCL and we were watching
Yeah.
it
It was
I
something of
forgot
the dog.
something, yeah,
Yeah.
something, the dog, I can't remember what it
And
was, but I remember it was like dog something. And and we were both like we were creeping in on the stage with the actors doing the Q&A, and everybody's like, "What are you
Yeah.
using?" I'm like, yeah, it's so don't get me wrong. Yeah, reliability, flexibility, selection of lenses that you get. It's easier to shoot, easier to pick. I think those are really good ones. And I think Pixel's moving up. The Pro
Yeah.
is becoming more pro in what we assume Pro needs to be. The Find
Hmm.
X6 Pro for me, I think if not because I don't rely too much on the Pixel, I just feel like from walking around and I'm using a
Yeah.
device and all I'm using it as a camera, I would probably my hand would go for the Find X6 Pro. So yeah, it
So
would be there first and Pixel
I,
second.
I'm right there with you with the if. If
Okay.
it is literally I am pulling the phone from my pocket, which I do this with Lex a lot. I pull the phone, I double tap the power button, I shift my thumb to hit the volume rocker,
Yeah.
and then I don't even touch the shutter on the screen anymore.
Yeah.
That to me is a Pixel unique experience, how good it
I
is.
I
The
do. Yeah.
second I need to touch anything in the app, because this is also the thing that kind of bumped the Xiaomi off my point and shoot recommendation
You
here.
can't double press the
I
down. Yeah.
no, I do not like the new layout on the Xiaomi camera app for those faster interactions. You always have to pull out a menu and adjust a setting. No, you have to pull out a menu, select a setting, make your adjustment, get back to your viewfinder, and in the moment you're dead. And
So
the
what
and
would
Oppo's do you say Oppo or Oppo? I've been saying Oppo and I think I have it wrong.
some people call it Oppo, but I call it Oppo. Yeah, it's
Oppo.
OPPO
So
Oppo.
the second I need to touch something in the camera app, the Find X6 Pro's layout is just just head and shoulders better than
Hmm.
Xiaomi's new cleaner, more organized layout. You don't need to dig nearly as deep into multiple button presses to get to those settings.
Okay, then riddle me this because we got to mention this because we both have it and we both used it before. When
Sure.
we talk about the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, there is an accessory that allows us to do 1 point quick shot.
I
No, I'm not saying it's the best. I'm
Yeah.
talking about quickness. If you had to
Yes.
kind of point and shoot, you bring it up, you press.
Because I bumped Sony off of
Oh, the
Selfies for
accessory.
not having an
Yeah.
accessory. I took the hit for my personal. That's one of our
Well,
categories, but
no, I
one of
know, I
my
know.
personal favorites of the year. I had to take it off the list because you're right. It turns it into more of a camera, and that works so much smoother.
Well,
It's
because
faster. It's more
Sony
accessible.
without this accessory does the exact same thing.
Yes, it's great. I love it. I wish the
Yeah.
shutter button were just built into the phone.
It is on the
So
Sony. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
So
no, I know
I,
that.
I kind of spoiled some of the conversation we were going to have talking about best manual or pro mode.
Yeah,
And
those are
this is
gonna be.
also very specific. I'm not talking about the whole operation of the app. I'm just talking about really dialing in pro settings, photos, videos, controlling all of your exposure, what
Mhm.
type of file formats you're going to shoot. My picks, Xperia 1 Mark V and Xiaomi 13 Ultra.
I like the choice. Xperia 1 Mark V, absolutely. The Video Pro,
Because
Cinema
it is
Pro.
just a pro
Yeah,
mode
it's just
camera.
like the phone was built around the mode in the camera. Let's just say that. It was an engineer who said, "Hey, we have this menu system that we like to use on our main cameras, and
Yeah,
we'd like to put a mobile phone around it." I'm like, "Yeah,
there you go.
we could do that.
Done.
Definitely, absolutely. We'll keep it consistent. We'll keep it running." No, absolutely. From photo to video to cinema, 1 Mark V wins. There's no question on that. Again, it's this is why I say, if, as you said it before, if you were the videographer and you're not the talent on front of the
Yeah,
camera and not having to be both players, absolutely, it's the camera to go because you get those controls. It's like, what is it called? Like
yeah.
1/10 of the weight of what a DSLR with a full size lens sitting on it,
Right? Yeah.
and you're rocking it and running around, and you get 512 gigs of storage, X amount of stuff, SD card expansion, the list goes on. But if I had to kind of go with another device that I have to pick
Yeah.
from a dialing in situation, it's a little bit of a toss up for me because I kind of like from the configuration and setup, the 13 Ultra is absolutely crazy. It's right. If you
Hmm.
have it set up, you have it set up on a mount, and you're starting to go in and dialing in the experience in Pro mode. Great. The raw, all the modes that you get out of it are also great. I feel like the Find X6 Pro and Samsung don't necessarily fall too far back. Samsung's
No, they're good.
general usage
Yeah.
for me, the ability of tuning, because there's levels of pro mode, right?
Hmm.
13 Ultra's high is up there, but if I have to kind of give an honorable mention to some of the other options, I think Samsung's pro mode is actually pretty decent to what you're able to do with it,
Do you know
especially.
why I sort of split? Is because Samsung won't just do the right thing and install their expert RAW mode directly into their camera app. And it's technically a separate camera app that you have to install. And again, in that weird thing that Samsung does, where they limit the functionality of a device unless you know to go dig into a menu or setting or something like that. The
It's
full
yeah.
Samsung manual mode is phenomenal after you've installed stuff
After you
to
need to
fill in all the
know, you need to
gaps.
know that, yeah, no,
And
no,
you need to know it.
exactly. And but that those are the things that
Once
kind
you
of,
do it, it's amazing. It
yeah.
really is good.
But
Yeah.
it has. This is why I felt like, they've advanced quite a bit. And Oppo, and Oppo's, actually, sorry, see, now you got me saying Oppo, and Oppo's
Sorry.
approach to photography as well. They do really good. Like
Yeah.
they really take Hasselblad's relationship with their cameras and their
It's
modes,
legit.
and it's legit. The filters are getting much better. The modes, the color science that you're getting from it, it's just,
Hmm.
you could see the relationship. So it's a toss up. It's hard. It's one, these devices are always going to do well.
I,
Samsung needs a little bit more of
they
like
don't
that
need
secret menu.
anything.
No, but
That's
it's like
yeah. They
it's
just
like the
need to
in and out
stop hiding
yeah,
stuff.
the in and
Just
out
put it
secret
in
menu
there.
needs to stop. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just put the thing on the menu. Show it
Like
on the board. Let us
give
order
me
from.
4K DeX support in DeX. Don't make me install Good Lock. Don't
Like,
make me
why?
hunt for stuff.
But not only
Just
that,
do it.
region locking it. Good luck isn't
Yeah.
available everywhere. Same phone, but either way, yeah. No, I know it's a little bit of a
Yeah, I'm
dancing
with you
game
there.
that they don't really. But no, I'm with you. Yeah, tons of really good stuff. Menu mode in
But
there. Yeah, I think.
I feel like we would have a really strong run for third. I think
Mhm,
my Find X6 Pro, your Find X6 Pro would be a very close third.
absolutely.
I think the showdown between like a Vivo X90 and a Pixel 8 Pro
Hmm.
would be a pretty close tie for fourth because they both have sort of limited features,
Hmm.
but they kind of mirror they kind of almost puzzle piece. What the Pixel does really well in its Pro mode
Hmm.
is better than what the Vivo does, but then the Vivo has settings that the Pixel will never have menus on top of menus to achieve. And it's like almost like they're opposites,
Yeah.
but they both have gaps. So for
Well,
me, that fourth place would be a tie between Vivo and Pixel.
and Pixel.
And then in there somewhere, I would probably sneak like a 3.5 Samsung if you installed all the parts to make it the full camera app.
Samsung with that big if at the end. No, I'm with you.
The
It's a
Samsung with a no. Samsung with a small asterisk, not a big if, a little baby dot, a little
I know.
asterisk.
But it's a different, it's a weird conversation to say, hey, if you have a Samsung, by the way, you could do more things. No, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a reason why I try to, whenever with any new device that comes out, I always make sure to champion good luck to make sure more awareness, more people find out about it, more people download it.
get all the money
Uh,
you paid for your
Well,
phone.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, and understand that there are cool other features that they actually launch and they're developing and they're pushing and they're doing. And like, Good Luck is a very powerful suite of tools. It's
yeah,
like expose mods that we used to do to Samsung devices. Samsung took that idea
yeah.
and ran with it. They just forgot to send the email to tell people they ran with it.
It's like they almost it's like they're trying not to intimidate people. Like
It,
I worry that we need to make it
it's
look
the in
so
and out
easy.
secret menu, man. It's like, if you know, you
Yeah,
know.
if
And
you
this
know,
is
you
what they're
know.
doing. They're trying to make it into that, like, oh my God, this does more. And I didn't realize. I don't have to buy more stuff. But either way, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think Samsung, with the basic functionality you have been in there, it's pretty. I think it has a certain base level experience that you can definitely enjoy. Pro mode, like we
Yeah.
talked about it before. If nothing else, the audio ability of focusing on front, back, Bluetooth and mic, and then all of those.
Hmm.
Those are things that you don't really see in many devices. Pro modes either. So yeah, I mean they
For
have
sure.
some good options, but sure. But I think we're getting
So
close to that
we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up
pièce de résistance, if we say.
our list. This is our last category, and just in the interest of good sportsmanship, I would actually like you to go first. Your favorite overall camera platform and your runner-up for 2023. I think we probably have a good idea of at least one of those phones,
Oh, you should
what it
have
might
a
be.
really good idea what the main one is. If we start off
But
and basically
but
kick off from there. But
what
yeah.
were your two top overall shooters? Just for your workflow, your needs. This is not us grading different features between. This is just like what we ended up using on our channels.
No, absolutely. And it's going to sound cheesy, but Find X6 Pro is going to be my main device. There's no question.
Knew it.
And it is a consistent, like,
Called it.
you could catch me at any event and ask me where's your Find X6 Pro, and more than likely I'll pull it out from the back pocket and it's there. That's the level of approach, I'll say. And it is basically the one right next to it is the 13 Ultra. Surprisingly enough, if I had to kind of go through, and I can't bring my Find X6 Pro, the 13 Ultra would be the phone that I would go with because of the level of not only control, the function, but also the ability of dialing in the way I want to shoot. But if I also want to just do it all auto and just run and gun, I'm able to do it. It's that flexibility of where you're able to go, but I also be able to step back and say, I want to be able to take a little bit more time composing my shot. I want to be able to get those really good shots. And again, it's the color science, the calibration. Leica does just, I mean, I really, oh, come on, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to Leica. I really like.
I like the
Leica.
Leica.
Okay, the moment I said I don't want to say it, and my brain keeps saying Leica.
You have to do it. It's like the
like,
dad joke compels you. The dad joke compels you.
Wait, yes, in the name of the Leica, we will like it. No, the two just for me round off pretty much very closely to what I like to get when I'm out and about.
Fair.
Easy data transfer, content capture, content sharing. The only edge I would give to the 13 Ultra is the fact that it is a global device, so I can transfer data from it off faster. But I've been doing way more transferring off of SSDs as opposed to just doing nearby because I shoot so much content in 4K 60, and it just literally, if I'm going through an event and I come back, I'm at least 20 to 30 gigs. I'm not talking about like easy transfer. So SSD, you plug that in, you transfer all of that, and then you boom, put it back into the laptop. Way faster than nearby or anything.
And also phone to phone, I've actually started using file managers that have Wi-Fi Direct. So FX File Explorer will let you go link up over Wi-Fi, and you're like, actually, this is kind of fast. Once you set it up, you're just comparing nearby share. It's not. You have to factor in all the setup
I was referring to like if I'm doing nearby share dropping to the computer. Some people prefer that because that's one of the biggest.
But the sneaker net of having like a good quick SSD is just way better. Oh, I was just going to say, just to kind of close out, because Barry already called what mine was. He nailed it. He got both of us. My fun admission, since acquiring the Xiaomi 13 Ultra, almost, not quite, but almost all of my B-roll, outdoors and indoors, this whole year was shot from the Xiaomi 13 Ultra. I have a Lumix G9 gathering dust in my office that I used to use as my B-roll cam, and it has been used this year. There were a couple projects where it's like, okay, I really need this kind of a shot. I'm going to use the real camera, but the vast majority of the B-roll in my videos, in my reviews, it's mostly come from a phone. And the highest compliment I can pay the main sensor on the Xiaomi 13 Ultra is no one seems to be able to tell the difference between that phone's main camera sensor and my Lumix G9 with my $1,000 Panasonic 12 to 35 f2.8. They look about the same when people are looking at YouTube videos.
When you no longer are able to say like, wait a minute, what is he doing with that lens and what is he trying to? No, when that stops being the conversation, I think that's the biggest thing in here. You need to kind of just appreciate what the tech can do. How easy is it to again? That's what we were talking about. How does it fit your workflow? How does it fit what you do? I just appreciate what it does, and it runs really nicely with
Yeah.
everything else that I've been doing, and it works great on my Mac. It works great on my PC. It just runs everything. DaVinci loves all of the content and all the file systems that I've been using.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's just it's easy to drag and drop. I mean, again, with a little bit of a hiccup, we were talking before the show started. I was trying to shoot some content with a new device that does weird, funky stuff that doesn't use standard
Mm-hmm.
codec. But yeah, no, other than that, I think this is, yeah, it's crazy how, for me, 2023 was a fun year for photography. It was a
Yeah.
fun year to enjoy content capture, content consumption, but also the ability to produce content. It's different than the years before, where I've always had to go with the ZVE1 was carried with me for quite a bit of time.
Yeah.
You know, I still picked up a new camera. I'm not going to
Same.
deny the fact that, but yeah, if I'm going and I'm shooting, maybe the A roll is shot on a DSLR, but all my B roll is being shot handheld. That close proximity focus that you get with the Find X6 Pro is crazy good.
Mm-hmm. So
And
good.
you know what I mean? Like even on subject, not just person.
And
So yeah.
I feel like I've maxed out what I want from Micro Four Thirds cameras, and there's nothing in between until I jump to full frame.
Yeah.
I will shoot on phones first for the convenience and for also how discreet they are.
Hmm.
I shared this on the Patreon, but things like we take our phones for granted as these like pocket computers and communications devices, but
Yeah.
like I set up a call with my daughter and my grandmother. So she is talking to her great grandmother, and it's so easy to just slide a phone over. They're on a speakerphone call and slide a phone over as a little audio recorder. You know, like if I'd set up a mic, my daughter would have been super self-conscious, or she would have been performing or doing something silly or wacky. But here's just like this phone is just on the table and daddy has a phone. And so she doesn't even click that anything is
Yeah.
different. And now I have this really lovely conversation. It didn't distract from the moment. And I think our phone cameras are so discreet now. But I think we've lost sight of the fact that these newer technologies have closed the gap so significantly between the smallest of our censored mirrorless cameras and something that fits in your pocket
Yeah.
is just astounding to me. So that's where I wanted to wrap us up here. I mean, we have run just a little bit long with all of our
It's
with
an
all of
award
our
show, obviously.
all
Play
of our
cue the music.
awards.
Aditya, please
Right,
cue the music right now.
say goodnight, Gracie.
Yeah.
But what do you think are going to be like? What is like sort of again in sort of your top and then runner up? What are the sort of two of the trends that you expect to see happen throughout 2024?
So if you had asked me the same question about a week ago, I probably would have had a different answer. I, as of the last
I
week,
love it.
I had started to see a lot of rumors about shifting away from 1-inch sensors, going towards sensors that are able to perform close enough, like what we saw with the OnePlus Open. But then we were starting to see rumors that the Find X7 Pro is going to be going with the 13, the 14 Ultra may end up doing something similar. But then Vivo shows up at my door with a 1-inch sensor, and I'm like, wait, like life still goes on. Um, I think what we're going to see is a great improvement in the performance of non 1-inch sensor devices with with the new Sony sensors, that with the special stack sensors that we're getting. I think the imagery is going to start getting much better. We're going to be enjoying the benefit of the 1-inch sensor at a much more affordable. I think we also saw Sony's. I think it's coming up with a brand new. I think with the IMX 900, if I'm not mistaken, the
Yeah.
new 1-inch sensor. So when we get those things, we're going to see more excitement. I'm hoping we'll at least see two devices that use that sensor, the IMX
Yeah.
900, and we're going to start seeing what we're able to get out of that. Um, but it's an upward mobility at this point. We're finally,
Hmm.
chipping at those features that has been kept for at that 1-inch sensor level. We saw Sony, we saw Vivo, we saw not, Sony. Sorry, we have Vivo, Oppo, and Xiaomi. Playing around with 1-inch sensors, like they're going out of style, but
Yeah.
they led quite a bit during the year. And with everything that they've launched to the end of the year with the 13T and all of those, I think the 13 Ultra is still literally the best that they release, and Xiaomi knows it. The Find X6 Pro, the
Hmm.
best that Oppo has released in 2023. I want the 14 Ultra and the 7 Pro to do better. And I'm
Hmm.
very trusty. After going to Oppo and seeing what they've done and all the things that they do, I know that they're going to be pushing the limit. They're not playing around anymore. And the leaks that we've seen, yeah, the array of cameras on the back look weird and whatever, but you know what? That's not the point.
Yeah.
It's how it works. It's what you're able to get out of it, and I'm excited for that. So yeah, it's definitely going to be exciting for photography. More control, more functions, better sensors, at more affordable prices.
Yeah, I completely agree with. So I'm gonna hearing your answer.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna just repeat everything that you just said because I feel like you covered a lot. To reiterate, one of the trends that I think is going to be exciting to watch,
Hmm.
we're going to see some showdowns where if you can get a good deal on a Xiaomi 13 Ultra, it
Ooh, yeah.
might be price competitive
Mhm.
against a Xiaomi 14 Pro.
That's true.
So you can make those choices now between a sensor that's probably a little bit better at popping a brighter image out, or a sensor that it's the older sensor, but it's got a more camera-like, shallower depth of field, photography style aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
And you have to get real granular, like, is it going to matter to you if you have the absolutely stonking incredible Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 or the slightly more stonking incredible powerful 8 Gen 3? Like, that to me is going to be one of the best year to year showdowns
Hmm.
that we've ever seen, because we kind of lost it for 2 years. The 888 was okay, the 8 Gen 1 not great, but 8 Gen 2 is going to be such a strong performer going into 2024 still.
Yeah.
So the flip side, my fear in terms of trends that are coming out, I fear we're going to sour the AI commentary before we have good daily driver experiences that consumers will really rely on. They're going to
Okay.
get sold on the 5G-ness or the NFT-ness of how exciting. We're all excited about AI. AI makes stock prices for companies go higher. And they're going to get a phone and they're going to say, well, what can it do? And there are going to be a couple wacky little novelty things on it. And then they're going to go, oh, okay, I guess. And then it's not really going to land until we see more maturity for apps and services taking advantage of these neural cores and NPUs and all this other stuff. So I just fear, I think we're rushing the excitement to try and sell consumers on AI, especially generative AI. I hope we can make it through 2024 with some good core practical services that really bring some new features to the table or make editing easier. And if
Yeah.
that happens, then great. I'll be wrong and I'll be happy to be wrong. But I'm worried that we'll oversell AI in 2024
Oh no, no,
and
absolutely.
and it's going to turn a lot of people
I,
off.
I, I think where we are with AI is we have the cars and the engines that can run the race, but the
Yeah,
race hasn't started yet. And then I
no,
say that because what
accurate.
we're seeing right now is we have three devices, three or four devices that were released in 2023 already that have the brand new AI enabled processors. But you look at these devices, you look at what the companies are offering. None of them are putting in AI in anything. They're still giving us pretty much what we saw before.
Yeah,
The leveraging of functional AI built into these devices I feel like won't pick up till we have a much bigger footprint of AI enabled devices on the market. Keep in mind, the devices that we talked about today, regardless of be it one phone or another, they're all premium devices. They're premium,
yeah.
ultra pro level devices, and AI at their core is there. We saw generative AI, just for reference, we saw generative AI demoed by Qualcomm on the 8 Gen 2
Hmm.
at MWC 2023. It is not a gate kept
Yeah,
thing to 8
right.
Gen 3. 8 Gen 3 may do better. It is designed around it, but you've been able to do generative AI before. I did a reel on it. I was with Sasha over in MWC. We went in, they had a little bit of a booth for us to be able to check it out. But what I'm trying to say is I feel like we just don't have the applications for it yet.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, sending a thing to the cloud for it to generate a graphical image of you and whatever and all of that.
Mm,
That's not what we're
that's
talking about. That's not the
And
AI
that's a
that people.
novelty that someone's going to do twice,
Yeah,
and then
no,
they'll
you do it
probably
once and you're like,
never do that
oh
again.
crap, I just shared all my data with them. No, I know. It's one of those things you kind of need to appreciate where when you talk about things running on device,
I,
Google started to do that, but we're not there. I feel like we
and I
need more.
need them to come back,
Yeah,
because like again, we now take for granted like how great speech to text transcription is
on
on our
device. Yeah,
phones.
yeah.
It makes subtitles in real time.
Hmm.
We don't take for granted. We're still very excited about features and updates and improvements to things like Magic Eraser.
Hmm.
And that to me is the bread and butter stuff that will get people excited about ever increasing processing power and this idea of AI, but really it's neural processing or LLM style processing or whatever operations or parameters you're installing in that chip.
Yeah.
I feel like we keep rushing into overselling the magic of Gen AI and doing fancy like most of what I've tried on my Pixel for like stylized filters has been garbage. It's like this nifty little novelty that it can do this thing, but then the actual output is not something I would really want to share or keep or save or do anything with. So then I end up going, oh, okay, that's fine, but that wasn't really something that contributed much to me
I mean,
buying this really expensive phone.
I'll be honest. There
So,
is a reason why Google's not making commercials about the stylized photos. Yeah, it's AI based. It doesn't have enough models and it hasn't learned as much. I will say that if you
mm,
ever want to play a little bit with AI in Google, go into Google search and turn on the generative functionality in the queue where you're
okay,
able to queue in. I've done a few images request in search where I've asked it to draw some like a Dragon Ball like character standing on top of a building with a shooting star coming across, and it actually did quite a
that's cool.
few images that look nice. That way, I wouldn't mind sharing. But
Yeah.
for on device, right now we're limited to a certain subset, and Pixel's doing the best that it can at those.
It needs a lot more data dumped into it. Again, MediaTek was really
But we need
aggressive
also
talking
bigger
about.
storage. We need bigger storage.
Yeah.
This 128 thing, and we're starting to basically, they
Well,
made the case for more RAM, but not one person talked
well,
anything about storage.
and we're laughing about that, but like, yeah, if you're gonna do on-device Gen AI and stylized filters, we need to double the amount of RAM on the Pixel 8 Pro
Yeah.
for it to actually access billions of parameters and operations for a language learning model or for.
Tensor 4 needs to
I,
have.
I see. I actually think that Google's design on their neural hardware is
Mhm.
probably adequate. They are not. They don't have the supplemental hardware like giant bucket of RAM to facilitate what I think the
Playground
Tensor
did.
chip could probably do. So
Yeah, the
I
playground
I,
that it needs.
I'm kind of I feel like I'm kind of with you there, and I'm glad I'm not the only one that's a little concerned about not about whether or not we can do cool things with AI. For
Mhm.
me, it's the marketing and the hype and the trying to force excitement always seems to backfire on us. Always seems to like let consumers down, and then they're even more disappointed with an expensive phone purchase rather than saying, oh, but it's really doing all these other cool things. It's just this one thing we hyped on didn't live up to our expectations. And that's what makes me sad is when someone walks away from what otherwise is a brilliant device
Mhm.
going, oh, but what you said was exciting was kind of dull. And that kind of that guts me when people like maybe spend
Well,
$1,000
we
on a
yeah,
device and then
but
go like,
we
oh,
need those applications that run on device that are pushing our device's processing power. The reality right now is 90% of our AI on non-Pixel, if you're trying to use on-device stuff, is run on cloud. Even
yeah,
Google's leveraging some of
yeah,
their processing back to the cloud. The same company that was trying to put like we're trying to put things more on phone. So when you start doing these things, any phone, a Redmi can do it. I'm not saying the Redmi is not powerful, but I'm just saying is like even a budget phone can do the work if everything's leveraged on the server. So,
legit.
why build an entire ecosystem of SoCs that are Gen AI capable, but nobody other than the company that made the SoCs can demo these things. I'm talking about, realistic functional things that people can point to and say this made my life better. And that's what we want to get there. And this is why, yeah,
I
we're
like
too
it.
early. It's too early in the
We
story.
are. I completely, yeah, completely agree. I think we're too early.
I'm with you.
So in saying that we're too early, we're also running a little late. So let's
It is the
wrap this up.
scoosh.
I don't know that we'll be able to pull it together for next week, but I would also like to do a year awards roundup for
Okay.
our favorite phone genres
Ah.
of 2023. Best
Okay.
productivity phone, best gaming phone, yada 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 yada.
Best feel in the
So
hand, all the good stuff. Yeah,
best, you know what? We need to make that a category just so
that
that
needs to
I can
be
throw up
first.
in my mouth.
First
And
category, first in the list, and TK goes straight with it first.
and I
Yeah, no, I'm with
wonder what the best iPhone of 2023 will be. That's the most important question.
it's
The
going to be
only
the
question
iPhone
that
made out of
matters.
silk. That's going to be the best iPhone, or
So,
titanium, whichever comes first.
TK and I are going to talk offline and see if we can pull together our categories. It took me a while to kind of work out my bracket, so I'm hoping we can do something similar for next week. If not, we will definitely be doing it after Christmas, but into our New Year's roundup
Yep.
the week after. So we'll at least be able to kind of join that conversation. I feel like we should keep the same window, like
Oh,
November to
absolutely.
December,
November to
for
December.
what
Well, I mean,
devices we're considering.
let's close 2023 off with the right with the right note, and then I think we could start off 2024 the right way.
I love it.
So
Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. This was something that I mean, we took a lot of time just kind of talking out what we felt like would be good for categories and stuff like that. And the conversation was really fun. So I feel like this is a trend. Like this is something we should maybe next year also come up with, like graphics or like music, to kind of play for categories and stuff like that.
transitions. That's what we used to be in that business where they needed a PowerPoint for everything. We need better
Right?
transitions.
Like if I had an assistant or like an extra week, that I just needed one extra whole week for me to prepare a PowerPoint presentation so we could go slide by slide, and that would have been real nice.
As you could
But
see, slide number 10 clearly states this is true.
it's official. There's an award now.
There's a slide. No, for sure. Well, with that being said, guys, thank you very much for checking it out, listening to us, and hanging out with us on this beautiful Thursday with your old friends that we get a chance to hang out.
Hey.
Barry, Aditya, Farhan, everybody in the chat, thank you very much for kicking it with us. Michael Peppertech, I hope you feel better. But we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Best of Our Week. Make sure to catch Juan on Monday for his SGGQA. Audio version of the podcast will be out within the next day or so. And of course, as always, be safe, stay safe, and we'll see you next week.